Forceful.
Good afternoon, early evening, everybody, to our regular commission meeting here on October the 15th. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Marker,
Here.
Deputy Vice Mayor Long,
Here.
Vice Mayor Cassell,
Here.
Commissioner Burns,
Here.
Mayor Carney.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. We have the approval of the agenda. So is there anyone who wishes to discuss anything taking off the agenda for discussion, or any consent items, any?
Hang on, I wanted to discuss, I apologize. Hold on, please. I'm sorry.
Stand by, we're here.
Thank you, thank you. If someone else has something, grab it and let me go with mine. Hold on, forgive me. Where is this stuff on the disparity study? I'm sorry.
That would be 6C.
Yeah, 6C.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We wanted to pull that, or?
Yeah, for discussion.
So
We
it's
want to pull
6,
6C for discussion?
No, that's not. Is that
6C
it?
and 6D.
D, correct. Thank you.
It would be both.
There
then.
too.
Both.
That's right. Thank you. Yes, I would
6C
like to.
and 6D.
Thank you. So those become 7AA and
7AA and 7 and
7BB.
BB.
7BB.
Okay.
You got that?
Other than that, any other changes? Can we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. We have an honor at the moment of swearing in our new fire chief. We are very excited about this. This is for Delray Beach. Please, just give this man the recognition he deserves. You need to come up here and be sworn in.
I, Ronald Martin,
Do
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge and perform
that I will faithfully discharge and perform
all the duties as the fire chief of the city of Delray Beach,
all the duties of the city of Delray Beach,
all the duties as the fire chief
all the duties as the fire chief
of the city of Delray Beach.
of the city of Delray Beach.
I pledge to defend,
I pledge to defend,
uphold, and protect
the
the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the United States,
the laws of the state of Florida,
the laws of the state of Florida,
and the codes and ordinances of the city of Delray Beach.
and the codes and the ordinances of the city of Delray Beach.
I promise to foster a culture of safety,
I promise to foster a culture of safety,
professionalism, and respect,
professionalism, and respect,
as well as the pursuit of excellence.
as well as the pursuit of excellence.
I accept the responsibilities
I accept the responsibilities
and challenges of my position,
and challenges of my position.
and I'm committed to the protection
I am committed to the protection
of life and property,
of life and property,
and dedicated to the welfare
and dedicated to the welfare
and safety of the community,
and the safety of the community,
and firefighters entrusted to my command.
and the firefighters entrusted to my command.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin, would you like to say, Chief, would you like to say a few words? Just
Thank you.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Mayor, council folks, I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm so excited to get started in this role. I've met so many wonderful people, and to serve all of you and be the community's new fire chief. I look forward to many, many wonderful opportunities and engagement, and I would love to thank my better half, my partner in crime, love of my life, Colleen. Thank you for all your support, and you guys will be seeing us here in the community.
thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything to add?
No, not at this time. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Much work to do. We look forward. Thank you,
Great.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Lachey King, you are here. I see you.
Hello, Commission. Lachey King, Employee Engagement Administrator, here to recognize one of our amazing employees for 30 years of service. Let's give it up for Shepard Gross.
You're supposed to stand up. There you go.
So speaking on his behalf tonight is Juan Gavares, and he is our Assistant Utilities Director. You can come on up too.
Good afternoon. Shepard Gross has been a valued member of the Water Utilities Department, and we are happy to be here celebrating his 30-year career with the city. Mr. Gross will be also retiring in a few days. Mr. Gross started his journey on October of 1994 in the formerly Environmental Services, now Water Utilities Department, working as a utility service worker. During his 30 years of employment with the city, Shep was promoted several times, beginning in March of 1997 to equipment technician, 2001 utility mechanic, 2003 crew leader, and 2016 utilities supervisor. During his tenure, he received multiple letters of appreciation from countless residents for outstanding customer service related to him and his team. As a leader, he made it a point to pass his experience and knowledge of our infrastructure to his staff. He also mentored teammates by sharing his knowledge, working with tools, equipment, and parts needed to repair and maintain our systems. His leadership and can-do attitude, along with his institutional knowledge, will be missed. Shepard has been an instrumental and appreciated member of the Water Utilities team, and so on behalf of the City of Delray Beach, and from me personally, thank you, Shep, for all your years of hard work and commitment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gross, for your service.
We still have something to give him.
It's like a Ginsu knife commercial. Wait, there's more.
Yes, wait, there's more. And we also would like to present to you this beautiful plaque.
Oh, beautiful.
I'd like to say thank you to the City of Delray Beach and Commission, everyone. It's been a long journey, but I'm glad I'm able to be here to see it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Enjoy retirement. Huh?
He's going to another city.
Oh. You didn't need to tell us that, Tennille, but thanks so much. Thanks for sharing that information, Tennille.
Thank you to the city manager for your leadership. He's going to miss you.
We have a couple of grant presentations. Janae is here, yes, for a couple of brief presentations.
Good evening. Janai Bowens, Education and External Opportunities Manager, here in collaboration with the School District of Palm Beach County to present the 2024 City of Delray Beach Education Grant Update. As part of the City of Delray Beach Education Grant Funding Agreement, each school principal is required to provide a presentation to the City Commission regarding projects and intended outcomes utilizing grant funding. The Delray Beach presentations will be facilitated by Dr. Sandra Edwards of Atlantic High School, Dr. Shannon Grice of Carver Middle School, Rona Tata of SD Spady Elementary, Shantae King of Pine Grove Elementary, Rhonda Smith of Plamosa School of Arts, Latoya Dixon of Village Academy, and Danielle Garcia of Orchard View Elementary. Now we will have Dr. Edwards.
Good evening. She said to make it brief, but I just want to thank Ms. Bowens. I want to thank the commission, thank the city of Delray. I am very excited because I am a product of Delray Beach. I did not attend Atlantic High School, but born and raised here in the community. So I'm excited to be at Atlantic High School, and I want to thank you all for your contribution. My funds will be used for incentives with students, about 2,000 9th through 12th graders at Atlantic High School, and it's really a lot to try to just encourage them. We're always on the academic piece, so this piece here will provide incentives for them with coming to school on time and just building a really great culture at Atlantic High School. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you for all your work.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm Shannon Grice, Carver Middle. Same thing, student incentives. Thank you for the money. We have level up ceremonies that we do after each of our benchmark tests. So the kids that level up, they get to come to the celebrations. Also, we have for our positive behavior incentives, which also helps academics. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Danielle Garcia at Orchard View. First of all, thank you very, very much for this grant money. We can't do these things without your help. So for us, we're trying to increase student achievement. Obviously, we've grown from a C to a B and hopefully to an A this year. So with the money, we are buying J&J Boot Camp to support our science program grades 3 through 5 and iReady magnetic readers for ELA for grades 3 through 5, as well as positive behavior incentives, because we know the more we incentivize our kids, the more they want to come to school and show up and do the work. So we're really proud for that, and thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Shantae King. I'm the proud principal at Pine Grove Elementary School. Of course, at Pine Grove, we're always working towards good, better, best. And so we're working towards that A continuously. And so in order to do so, we have to improve in all of our areas, reading, math, and science. And in order to do that, we thought we would focus on our school-wide positive behavior, but we've also focused on supporting our literacy as well as our math. We've purchased subscription license to support science. Last year, we lost some positions that we earned through COVID, so we didn't have a science teacher. So we decided to open up a lab, so we purchased a subscription to open a computer lab, as well as some subscriptions to support literacy. So thank you so much for the opportunity to again collaborate with the city.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Smith, and I am the proud principal of Plumosa School of the Arts. We are going to utilize the funding for student incentives at Plumosa. As a K-8 school, our students work really hard for incentives. We have a PBIS house system in which the students who are in all of our 9 art disciplines are able to commit to a house, but also commit to the characteristics within that house. So making sure that they display good character, but that also work really hard academically, right? We were able to jump from a C to an A, and that is due to the fact that we recognized our students and their abilities inside the classroom and, of course, artistically inside of their art areas. So we will use this money to promote, of course, just that. I created a fast carnival where the students at the end of the year, they get to go and celebrate all of their success. We also have a PBIS house store in which students can go in and represent their houses by getting student gear, and of course being able to provide those monthly incentives for students who demonstrate proficiency and or growth on our assessments. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi there, I'm Rona Tata. I'm the proud principal at Spady Elementary, and I'm going into my 18th year at Spady, and we have returned to our A-rated grade, and I'm super proud of that. We are going to use our money for what we call Breakfast and Books. It's basically a tutoring program, but it's at 7:30 in the morning, and we have dedicated certified teachers that are going to be working with our low 25 students to try to get them back up to grade level. They'll have breakfast with the kids, they'll be tutoring with the kids, but more importantly, it's a ratio of 4 to 1. So we're building those relationships. They're going to come every morning from Monday through Thursday. They get Fridays off, but then they'll also test with those same teachers so that they've built those relationships and they're comfortable. And I'm going to take 5 seconds to introduce our brand new assistant principal at Spady. Please welcome Crystal Liberio.
Welcome, Crystal. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the principal of Village Academy, and I just want to say I could not work for the best city ever. When I tell you that this commission and the city of Delray Beach does a fabulous job of supporting the principals in this area. So thank you so much in the work we do. And at Village Academy, what I plan to do with the money that was granted to us is to improve upon our positive relationships with our students as well as our family. We are prepared to offer a menu of parental and family empowerment activities for our families. We have our first event coming up next Thursday with the Discovery Science Dome, as well as we're going to be incentivizing our students for their academic achievement through the levels of PM 1, 2, and 3 with their academic progress. We've got some work to do at Village Academy, and I also believe, along with my colleagues, that when we incentivize students and we build strong student-to-student relationships and student-to-faculty relationships, our students know that we believe in them. And with that, I will be back before you at the end of the year to let you guys know that we have improved our reading and our math proficiency. And thank you so much for all that you do for our school. Thanks.
Thank you for all you do, and we look forward to hearing your results.
Thank you to our wonderful principals who have worked tirelessly with our students to create equitable outcomes. At this time, I do want to discuss our Spotlight on Education. So we're excited to recognize and celebrate the incredible accomplishments of our Delray Beach students who through hard work and resilience have demonstrated academic proficiency and positive character development. We have Jemiah Banks and Autumn Penn from Pine Grove Elementary School, Nafsat Alam and Juan Taborda from Carver Middle School, Grayson Noel and Sabrina Brutus from Village Academy K-12, Ariel James and Seth Mullings from Plamosa K-8, Delilah Baez and Ethan Rudder from Banyan Creek Elementary School, and Angie Cruz Gonzalez and Dusan Mark from Orchard View Elementary.
Congratulations.
And finally, we would like to recognize Principal Rhonda Smith of the A-rated Plamosa School of Arts as our spotlighted Principal of the Month. Under her leadership, Plamosa moved 2-letter grades, transitioning from a learning gain school to a culture of student proficiency. Congratulations to Principal Smith.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Smith, the proud principal of the A-rated Plamosa School of the Arts here in Delray Beach. Last year we had immense success here at Plamosa School of the Arts. We were able to jump 2-letter grades from a C to an A. Wow. We went from being what we deemed ourselves to be as a learning gain school, where we showed a lot of growth, to being a proficiency school. Our theme for the district is to educate, affirm, and inspire students. And I feel like if there were any 3 words that I could describe my mission and my vision for our school, it is to do just that. I do believe that despite the resources, the adaptive technology that can be used inside of a classroom, nothing compares to a teacher. Mm-hmm. Our students showed up and they showed us that they're capable of doing anything that we ask them to do. All we have to do is have high expectations of them, and they will meet and or exceed them. Mm-hmm. And our school did that. Our students did just that. It really takes a village. It takes a village to be able to support a school, and that's what the community does for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janae. Thank you, all of you. They're great principals. You're a fine group of people, and you're doing a great job for the city and our kids and our future, and I thank you very much personally. Okay, comments on inquiries on agenda and non-agenda items. City Manager, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and ladies and gentlemen. Before addressing the 3 items I have formally referenced as part of the presentation this evening, I'd also like to briefly mention a slight tweak relative to the golf course public engagement exercise. I recently shared with the City Commission via information letter report that we would kick this off October 22nd, a week from today. However, as I've had an opportunity to visit with leadership from both the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Department of Public Works relative to the Sanford process to get infrastructure conditions squared away and other details, direction is being offered to engage to that effect Thursday, November 21st, 6 o'clock at the golf course clubhouse, and by which time we should have a great deal of substantive information prepared and squared away so that we can get ourselves well on our way with respect to recommendations that will ultimately be made before the Mayor and City Commission. So feel free to update your notes to that effect, and I thought that would be excellent in terms of public commentary for this evening.
That was it, what, November?
Thursday, November 21st, 2024.
You have a time?
6 o'clock p.m., Delray Beach Municipal Golf Course Clubhouse.
Perfect.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Otherwise, at this time, I'd like to offer a few words relative to the fee structure for metered parking at the noted boat ramp parking lots. We've talked about that, Magnolia, Knowles Park, etc. And of course, much of this is based on commitments offered during the current fiscal year proposed budget process. So therefore, I've asked respective leadership to offer a brief update publicly so that everybody can be in alignment with respect to implementation. Mr. Mitat, Ms. Barletto.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Missy Barletto, Public Works Director. Tonight we're bringing you the proposals for metered parking at Mangrove Park and Knowles Park. It seems like a long presentation. It's pictures, so don't get too upset with me. So the first thing that I wanted to do was talk with you about what our neighboring cities are doing as far as parking rates and structures at their boat ramp parking. In Lake Worth Beach, they have both a daily parking fee. They have an annual parking permit. Their Florida resident annual permit is $75 plus tax. Their non-resident permit is $225 plus tax. Their commercial annual parking fee for fishing boats that use it every day is $225, and then the daily parking fees in their boat ramp parking lots are $15. In Boynton Beach, the rate goes up a little bit. The Florida resident annual is $200. Non-Florida resident annual is $350. And the daily parking fees are $2.50 an hour or $25 for a full day parking. In Boca Raton, it goes up just a wee bit more. In the Boca Raton resident, annual parking fee is $200. Note the difference between Florida resident and Boca Raton resident. And then for a non-resident, annual parking pass is $675. The Boca resident daily parking fee is $35, and the non-resident daily parking pass is $80. So all of the things that these areas have in common is that there are a very limited number of parking spaces at the boat ramps, which is also the same for us. Why does this do this to me every single time?
Page 2.
There. Well, they tell me I have to shake it to make it work. Okay, so we're going to start off with Mangrove Park recommendations. The number of spaces we have available at Mangrove Park is only 25 spaces. We will install 2 meters there. The enforcement will be daily. The staff's recommendations for rates there are $2.50 an hour, $25 flat rate for a full day, which was very similar to our neighbor to the north. Resident permits would be $200 plus tax. Non-resident permits, $350 plus tax. So just to give you an overview of what our parks look like, this is the Mangrove Park parking lot. There's the staff photoshopped some parking signs in there to make you feel right at home. And there's a public restroom there in the background with the parking spaces off to the side there. There's a better picture of the public restrooms with the parking meter in it. That is not there yet. This is all photoshopped. More signage. This is what it will look like. And the second parking meter. At Knowles Park, there are only 16 available spots. So we're looking at the same fee structure in this parking lot. There would just be 1 meter there for the 16 spots. One of the things that happens on a regular basis is at Knowles Park during the very busy times is that people will pull in. The first 16 spaces get taken up relatively quickly, and then people will leave there and go and park on US 1, which is it's right across the street. So there's a free parking available right across the street there at Knowles Park. And this is what it looks like. Those are all Photoshop signs. If you think that's too many, let me know. We won't put that many out there.
Well, there won't be any confusion as it's paid parking, that's for sure.
No, there will not. You really think that's too many, Mr. Long?
You know how I feel about signs. I'm not a sign pollution.
Well, I have to say that in that particular picture, it looks a little cluttered. There will not be any confusion.
I'm sure the final won't look like that.
I'm sure it won't. Okay, and here's a picture of this parking lot with cars in it. You can see that some of them will leave a trailer there and go park their truck on the roadway. There are a number of spots there that are just for trailer parking or car parking. They're not really big enough for boat and trailer, or for trailer and vehicle. There is a picture of the boat ramps and the smaller spots there to the right-hand side of the picture. And here's the implementation plan. So if commission gives permission for us to move forward with this plan this evening, regardless of what your thoughts are on the rate structure, we can adjust that however you wish. Then tomorrow we will begin at advertising the plan and informing the public. By November 1st, we'll start selling parking passes. By November 8th, the parking meters and signage will be installed at both parking lots. And by November 15th, we'll go live. We'll activate the meters and start charging for parking in that area. We will only issue warnings until December 1st. So there's always, when we implement a new change to the parking system, we always give at least a 2-week grace period for everyone to get used to the new structure, and then we will start enforcement. Now, the one thing that you will not find in this presentation that I normally do for you when we do a parking presentation is any kind of a return on investment or revenue profile. We have zero information on this parking lot utilization up till now. During the week, they're mostly empty. On the weekends, we're not there to count. So I don't have any data so far to go back on, but we will be putting parking sensors there and start to gather the data, so within 6 months we can come back and tell you how that fee structure is working and give you some kind of revenue projection if you're interested at that time.
Thank you very much. Anyone, any comments? Commissioner
I would love to say thank you. That it's impressive how quickly you got on this and put this together, because we literally, I think, just started asking you for this in the beginning of the budget as an additional revenue source, and I want to thank you. I would also want to note about you were on the agenda for this grant. I think it's $150,000 a year, and I want to say thank you so much, Missy. You always impress me with how much money you are able to cultivate for the city. There was an article recently, I think 26 million, is that it, for our beach restoration? 28 million. Thank you, Missy, all your staff, and everybody who participated. Thank you, Sam, as well, in helping get us that money. I'm always just enamored and impressed by you.
Thank you. We can spend it too.
I know, we are going to spend it. We're just trying to figure out what the restrictions are.
Commissioner Burns.
No, just thank you for your presentation, and thank you for everything that you do. Thank you.
Commissioner Markert.
Echo that. Thank you so much, guys. It's huge, and that's it for me.
Commissioner Long.
I just want to figure out what we got to charge per space to pay for that new parking garage. I think that's the solution.
It's always a barter.
like $4,500 a day
I'm sure
or
we'll
something.
be having some
Like-
one-on-one conversations about that.
Some fishermen would actually pay.
Thanks, guys. Great work.
I just want to clarify, we're talking about the resident fee, we're talking about a Delray resident, not just a Florida resident, right?
That is up to commission direction.
Okay, because my preference would be we give a benefit to the Delray residents.
Right.
And those friends of mine who drive currently up from Boca Raton to park
Because
there
our
because they think
parking's
it's free, they would have to pay a higher price than,
Right.
if I would own a boat, I would
That's
do the same
what's the
thing.
purpose,
Correct?
right.
Are we all
Yeah,
agreement? Should be Delray
100%.
residents? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And the second thing I'm going to address, and this, I don't know where this is going to go, what can we do about capturing those free parking spaces on Federal Highway?
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing? Okay.
No. Sir.
I thought I would ask.
It was
thinking,
worth an
though.
ask.
Huh?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, well, too bad. Anyway, thank you very much. Great work.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, the next item I have is concerning the internal auditor selection process. I made a commitment during the last regular meeting to offer brief footnotes as to what possibilities exist with respect to external contractual services, as well as the focus relative to executive search engagement. So briefly, Mr. Dwayne DeAndre, Director of Human Resources, is here to help outline possibilities in that regard to create an environment of comfort. Mr. DeAndre, if you would, please.
Yep, so Dwayne DeAndre, Human Resources Department, we have several considerations. We reached out to Plant Moran, as you talked to us about, who was the recipient of the RFP back in 2023, and they are willing to still honor the proposal that they offered at that time, thanks to working with Lynn and her staff to ensure that they met all of our requirements concerning the contract. But they still will honor that contract. What that entails is a complete annual risk assessment and 3 to 4 planned internal audits with results reported quarterly. And the audits would be, they would meet with you to consider what you want them to audit. Okay. That's basically their proposal. It's a 5-year deal, and that's one of the options that we provided to you. Then we reached out to several national recruiting firms. We received 3 proposals back. They all were in the same price range. One of them you would remember, Ruff Tellis. That's Miss Ferguson's firm. They came and did the goal setting that we had at the golf center, and they would do a national search for us. All the firms were in the same price range. This firm recently did place an internal auditor in North Carolina, so they have experience doing that. And they all said that they could have finalists in front of you within 12 to 15 weeks of signature of the agreement. So those are the kind of the options that we have if you want to go internally or if you want to go with a firm.
Okay. Commissioner Long, thoughts?
Yeah, at this point, I have no real interest in pursuing an internal auditor and spending more time and money and staff resources going down that rabbit hole. We've already done that. Didn't work. I know that there were some issues with delays and whatnot, but we've already done our due diligence with Plant Moran. If they're still interested, it's done. We've already done it. I think we should just move in that direction. That's kind of where my head's going to be at.
Okay, Commissioner Marker?
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that we need to move this along pretty quickly, so I think we should use an external recruiter. I brought that up in the last meeting. That's what we did in the private sector for critical positions. They'll do all the heavy lifting. They'll bring you the last couple of candidates, and then we can select from a well vetted couple of people.
Commissioner Casal?
Wait, you're talking about 2 different things here. That
Yeah,
you're
'cause
talking
what's
about
your- 'cause
potential.
they're talking about hiring this one company.
They're talking about hiring, either
Or
use
going to
outsourcing and using them as a consultant, or hiring using a headhunter. I definitely, I'm going to say, and Mr. Moore, I'm going to say that the city needs to use a headhunter too. I want to just say this to my commissioners because we're in this conversation about hiring. I think we need to revisit our hiring process. I had an exchange with Mr. Moore and HR because I was extremely frustrated. I started making inquiries about a recent hire, only to find out that we did not go back to that individual's place of employment, which is a city. We all know city keeps public records. If you have somebody who's been employed in a long time in a city, they have a record, and we're not even asking for that in the hiring process. So we hired an individual, and we're very hopeful that it will turn out to be a great hire, but basically it will be a matter of luck and not the competency of the process, because the process is flawed. And the bigger disappointment in all that, Mr. Moore, was that when I began inquiries, it was given very misleading information about the individual's file, the situation, and I'm not at all happy, and I am not comfortable at all with the hiring process in the city. I have email exchanges between Mr. Moore and the city with respect to this, but your information was not untruthful. I will give you that, but it was remarkably misleading. And I think when we work for the residents, as it relates to this issue, I want to go with the headhunter.
You want to go with the headhunter,
outsource, and I want Mr. Moore to work on revamping our process so that our residents are getting the best.
And as I've
for the
shared
job.
with you, ma'am, I've made a commitment to do so. I have pressed ahead, and direction to execute accordingly is imminent.
I thank you for that commitment. I just still find it remarkably shocking that that's not something we just do automatically.
We're moving forward, ma'am.
Okay, wait, hold on. When are we exactly moving forward?
We're starting immediately.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer.
Commissioner Burns.
I am in favor of hiring Plant Moran, the one that we've already bidded out and have a contract with. Move forward with that one.
Could I ask a question, though? That's your subcontractor, not an in-house auditor, the Plant Moran.
Right.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, one's a you'd be subcontract to a firm like you
I
would.
would like an in-house auditor.
Right, I understood. You know, I wasn't here for the Plant Moran thing, and I know I've read about the company. They do great work, but being new kid on the block, so to speak, up here, an old new kid on the block, I would like to go out for a headhunter. I'd like to see what's out there, and I'm hoping Plant Moran applies because I think they had a lot of great credentials that they brought to the table. I am not opposed to having a firm, hiring a firm to be your auditor as opposed to an internal one, but I certainly want to look at what internal ones have to offer before I say I want to go to, for the same reason I like our own legal counsel. Would like to have our own internal auditor. And so I think my thing would be to go for to see even though 12 weeks is a long time, and I'm hoping they can shorten that because 12 weeks is a long time. I'd like to see if they could do it, certainly before the end of the year, and that would be where I am. So I mean, we have consensus now for 3. Yes, for the yes. Is that where we are? I know we have 2 that want to hire the Plant Moran, and we have 3 that are saying for the other thing. So, do we need a motion here to how would you?
I thought we had 3.
We have 3 to go to the headhunter.
Right.
2 to go with Plant Moran.
Can I just get a clarification on what Commissioner Market? Because I was under the impression that you said go with the outside agency and not. What was your?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have public experience, I have private experience, but we would go out to the larger search firms and figure out which one had more of a specialty practice area. And that's who we would pick. Russell Reynolds for X and other firms to do Y. Dwayne, I don't have the experience you do with this, so I'd be curious in your opinion, what you think would be our best move.
Well, I think that if you go with a company like Plant Moran, they're not gonna be your employee. They're gonna deliver for you. They're basically gonna find out what you want to audit. Then they're gonna be left alone and audit it and provide you a report.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an employee, that's a little bit different, right? An employee is at your discretion to talk to them, say if we need to refocus here, whatever the commission may want. If you go with someone who's a firm, that's a little bit different of an animal.
I think we want our own employee.
Right.
I feel strongly about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we directed employee, but provided it's understood who the employee is going to report to.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the key for me is who that employee report, while independent, they kind of report to the commission and to the CFO. I mean, that's their.
They only report to the commission, really. I mean, in the sense that that's your direct hire.
Yep.
So you're the top.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
they'll be working with this staff and obviously, but.
So
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Because you referenced wanting to look at firms and internal employees. So are we going to do a search for both? To talk to firms and to consider, we're going to consider an external firm and internal employees, and then is that two separate searches? Is that two separate processes? I'm just not clear on how that works.
So I think if the consensus is to hire an executive search firm, right? Once you have that firm hired, they're going to want to come down and meet with all of you and ask what your druthers are, what you're looking for, who you want to, and then they're going to go out on a search. And whether it be a individual or a firm or whoever applies, it's going to apply through them.
That is how the process works, for sure.
Correct.
Absolutely.
May I ask a question as well?
Yeah.
You said that they were all about the same price. What is that?
Around the $30,000 range.
Thank you.
And with the consensus to proceed in this regard, given that dollar amount is something I would approve administratively. My interest is to have this discussion with you all this evening. You've all offered your consensus and direction. We'll wrap up the selection process based on what was just communicated this evening, and we'll advise accordingly and get to work.
May I add one other thing? Dwayne, I think when you and I sat down and discussed this, we felt that the pay range was, starts at 117 and goes to 50 something?
179.
To 179, right.
Yeah,
I think
so
we needed to
our last
narrow
internal
that.
auditor was in a little bit over the midway point when they left, or when
Right.
they started.
And we were going to talk about, there was a list of certifications. I sent you that whole email. I
Yeah,
think
so
you're going to
that's
talk
something
about
you'll
that
talk with-
individually?
That's something
Okay.
you'll talk with the executive
We'll go through that with the
search firm.
headhunter.
Correct.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll scope out for them what we're looking
Yep,
for, each
exactly.
one of us, in terms of what we expect from the
Yeah,
the
exactly.
position, the scope, the et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay.
And just one more thing, I agree with what the mayor said. We want to move this along really, really quickly. So they are going to want to come in and interview key executives, and I
Yeah.
think we should make sure that we're all available on short notice to make that happen. Because the timeline can, we're coming into the holiday season, the timeline can expand. And I think this is pretty important.
Yeah, that's a pretty crucial piece of it. So when you talk about the 12 to 15 weeks, they've taken into consideration 2 weeks to get with the exec, to get with all of you. And then after they sign it, to get moving.
Well, that's 2 weeks. They start that timeline after they've signed the contract. We're not even at the contract.
Yeah,
yet,
that's
which
what I'm
is why
saying. So 2 weeks after they sign
I'm
it,
looking for
they
more
want
of
to
an
meet with you.
expedited process if we
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe.
I think we should have a motion. So a motion to authorize an executive search firm for an internal auditor position. The purchasing policies do allow the manager to execute the agreement because of the value, and we don't have to do a competitive solicitation,
Right.
so he can determine whoever, the best proposer is.
So
based
moved.
on what
Then I need a motion to that effect.
I just did, so moved.
We got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, 2 noes, 3 yeses. Great. You're supposed to say, wait for me to say, well,
The one remaining item I have on the agenda under city manager matters, ladies and gentlemen, is the potential engagement with Cindric Cooperman Advisors for provisions of process and internal control assessment services, the Department of Finance in particular. I provided an updated engagement letter, somewhat general, that was dated October 10th, 2024. As part of your packet, I was able to finalize this Thursday, of course, during the course of events associated with Hurricane Milton impacts. Nevertheless, we have an interest in working with this organization to get to that place. However, it is being suggested that a follow-up discussion with the Mayor and City Commission via the November 4th meeting takes place so that everybody is in clear alignment with respect to expectations, and that can be defined and accomplished in this public setting.
Why don't we just discuss it now? This has been going on for a while. This letter that's attached to this is September 30th. You're saying there was an additional letter?
A follow-up from October 10th. I apologize. I should have had that circulated. I did not.
What
But
does
it's-
the letter say? Is it changing the scope of business?
No.
Okay, but that was kind of the issue why we pulled this off the last agenda, was because the scope was not accurate.
In essence, they have an interest in visiting with the City Commission at the next meeting. That's what we talked about a few days ago, and I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. I will circulate the update as we go along.
I just forgive me for asking this, but what does the visit have to do with the outline of the scope?
To talk with the city commission about specific expectations in person, to have an opportunity to discuss what that might look like.
And then they go back and they get another letter and then they send it. And
No.
then
As of November 4th, which is your next meeting, we'll be able to execute from there. Which I recommend that we do. I think we should have a concrete, definitive discussion at the next regular meeting. They've made a commitment and expressed an interest to being able to visit with you. I don't think it's appropriate to talk one-on-one with individuals and that whole bit without having an opportunity to engage and meet with the commission, which I think is reasonable. I'm sorry?
That's not on our schedules. If they're meeting with us one-on-one, you're saying?
It would be, it's not. And so I think that can be accomplished with a simple presentation, November 4th, City Commission meeting, so that everybody's in alignment and we would execute the package from there. I think it's fair.
Doesn't make sense to me. It just seems like we're prolonging the audit of the finance department.
I don't think we're doing anything
I certainly
at
would like
all.
to speak to them about the scope of what they're going to be doing.
Okay.
So, I mean,
I thought it was
don't
pretty
think it's a bad
clear.
idea.
And
They feel that it is not. They feel that it could be more clear if there is an opportunity to engage with the elected body. And again, given the elected commission form that we have in place to achieve in that regard, it's fairly appropriate. So that's the message I wish to offer at this particular point in time.
Okay.
And again, I do have a recent correspondence. I'll go ahead and share that with you all before adjourning this evening from the office so that you all can have what's been provided to me in that regard. So we'll provide that, but in essence, the recommendation is for their invitation to join you at the next regular meeting so that everybody can be in alignment so that we can get to work from there.
Okay,
This
so we
is
have
not at all
consensus for
prolonging
November the
anything.
4th? November, right?
Yes.
Consensus, yes?
to do what?
They're going to have them in front of us here on November?
Yeah, it doesn't
Okay,
seem like-
perfect.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Otherwise, I yield at this time. Thank you.
Okay. It's now part of our show, that is part of the public comment and announcements. So this meeting is now open to public comment from anyone wishing to speak on any topic or agenda item other than a quasi-judicial item and public hearing items. The public will have an opportunity to speak on quasi-judicial and public hearing items later in the meeting as those items are called. For public comment, please sign in, state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, City Manager. Paul Cannon, 1021 East Heritage Club, Delray Beach. I've got a couple of things. First of all, as Chair of Police Advisory Board, I'd like to add my welcome to Chief Martin as new Fire Chief, and I look forward to working with you. On a slightly related matter, those of you who read the blog put out by our former Mayor, Jeff Bellman, last week, drew attention to Perry Don Francisco, who had been the chair of the Delray Citizens for Delray Police Department. He's done some amazing work in raising funds for additional funds for the police department and the fire department, I would add, as well as additional charities. And I just would like to ask the Commission to recognise the great work that he's done now that he's stepped down and handing over the reins to Chuck Halberg, who of course many of you know. So I'd just like to add that. That was it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other people here for public comment? I see someone getting up in the back. Okay.
Should ask them to line up. So.
She's actually faster than I would be, so yeah.
Good evening, Anastasia Wright, 225 Southwest 7th Avenue, Delray Beach. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of my neighborhood, Carver Park Neighborhood Association. We had a meeting and there are complaints and concerns when it comes down to the feeding of the cats. We don't have a problem with cats. Let's make that perfectly clear. We don't have a problem with the cats. What our problem is that the person comes in, put down cans of food, leave them there, and all that the cats don't eat, or the raccoons and possums don't run them away, they're eating them. We've had several incidents where children were playing and they had to run in the back in house because you had raccoons out in the back of the yard. It is a big problem. I don't know if you're having that problem in your neighborhood, but sooner or later something is going to happen, and that I don't know who is liable for it. This young man that puts out the cat food, very rude to the neighbors, very rude in our community. His favorite thing to say is, I don't worry about you calling the police. Police know who I am. So I don't know if the police department is a part of it, or whomever, the city, or whomever, but we need to really talk, and we need to get a better understanding. The cats can stay, but the cat food, the feeding process needs to change. Thank you.
Mrs. Wright, what is your recommendation? What are you looking for?
If he's going to feed the cats, don't leave the food in the alleyways and in people's yard. That brings about the raccoons and the possums.
Okay.
And he needs to be a little bit more cordial and respectful to the people in this community.
Thank you very
Can I
much.
ask a question?
Yeah.
Is it the gentleman on the bike?
Yes.
Okay, I can probably.
Leroy
Oh.
Mitchell Jr.
Yes.
I might be able to just speak with him.
Was it that crazy guy?
He's not crazy.
Yeah, he
He
is.
rides a bike every day and feeds cats. He's lovely.
Okay. All right. Whatever.
Well, he's not welcome in our community.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Wright.
He does that. Come on.
We have two cats.
Get the cats out of the alley or wherever.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to make sure she was done advocating for the gentleman messing up my property value. Good evening. My name is Pamela Williams. I reside at 245 Northwest 8th Avenue. I'm going to piggyback in. I've got a different view on the same nuisance as it pertains to the Paradise Heights HOA. That gentleman there is a nuisance. I have had a police report made against him because of his aggressive manner. That being said, it does not appear that we're getting any help from the city, whether it's by way of neighborhood services who had a grant or whatever, some sort to provide the money at one time, $25,000 of my tax dollars, to help with them feeding the feral cat. The problem is we want it to be relocated. I alone, in the midst of my long retirement days, I got a solution. What we've come up with in my neighborhood, we are going to independently pay to have the animals trapped, and we plan to relocate them. And we're all one city. It's obviously a problem for me and not for anyone else. So since we are one city, we've chosen a couple of prime locations to relocate them. We're all going to be in love with these cats. For example, 918 Lakeshore Drive is probably a great place for them to be relocated to, as well as 2578 Lake Ida Road.
That's your address? Really?
That's my address.
Exactly.
I don't do cats.
We're not going to leave
Look, for the
out.
record, we have cats in my house, so they're welcome.
828 Eastview Avenue.
I love that.
The point I'm making in a very serious manner is help us. I have everybody's address. Help us eradicate the problem of this gentleman feeding the cats, leaving behind the contents of the containers. The cats come there, they are urinating, they're reproducing, and it's all in my neighborhood. So one city, one town, one Del Rey. We are going to independently, I'm not joking, so if it's against the law, I'll deal with the police after they clean up Bilo. So we're going to relocate these animals to other areas, and let's all take on this responsibility so my neighborhood would get the same consideration as everyone's neighborhood. Again, 245 Northwest 8th Avenue is where I live. So if you all would like to come out and watch the cats tear down my property value, you're welcome. Thank you all.
Can I ask
Have
a
a good
can I ask a
one.
quick,
On behalf of the
yes,
just a quick question. Have you talked to Palm Beach Wildlife at all?
I have.
They don't do it. They won't
Yes,
do it.
we have.
And
They
they,
only
and
have
they,
one woman, and it's a challenge. Look, and you know it. We've spoken about
Yes,
this a lot.
yes.
The problem with relocating the cats is other cats will come in. The whole point of the program was to vaccinate them and treat them, so they can't have any more kittens, you leave them around and eventually they kind of get older and you have over time less and less and less. The point of the program was not to inconvenience residents or, that is, I agree with you, if someone is leaving trash.
No, not someone. Mr. Mitchell is leaving it.
I might be
I will
able
be
to.
here next commission with the photos. I'm totally okay with that.
That's not appropriate at all.
At all.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Message
If
received.
not, we will see you at 828 Eastview Avenue.
Well, we're already fostering 5
got
neonates
tons of
from
cats. Then we'll
Peggy
bring 'em
Adams, so
on. Bring 'em
go ahead
on.
and bring them.
Thank you guys so much.
Great. Thank you.
Montre Bennett, 323 Northwest 2nd Avenue. Good evening. Okay, City Hall has plenty of parking. Y'all should use that at night to charge for parking. And there's plenty of space up there to build a garage right there. So there goes space for a garage right there. It's many nonprofits here in Derry that do events that don't benefit for anything. They do it for free. And y'all need to find a way to sponsor these nonprofits who have been doing events for years. The millage rate cut is going to show a lot of problems in the coming years, and I see it with y'all arguing about this parking. It's really going to be a burden later on for taxpayers. Congratulations on the $28 million for the beach restoration. I was at the beach yesterday, and 2 entrances down from the pavilion, you can see the water is almost to that lifeguard stand. So I reiterate from my comments in March, that water is rising and ain't nothing you gonna do about it. So use that money to benefit people in a better way.
Thank you, Montre.
My name is Chuck Ridley. I live at 210 Northwest 2nd Avenue. I wanted to invite City Commission and your staff to 2 events that the coalition is sponsoring. One event is called the Groundwater Initiative, which really looks at the trends of how racial data impacts and goes all across many different domains and many institutions. It'll give you a really good analysis of how race and impacts our neighborhood. And then the second, and that is going to be on November 2nd from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it'll be by Zoom, and I'll make sure that we get it to your city manager in case that you're interested. Then the second opportunity would be to actually attend a Racial Equity Institute. Again, as the leaders of this city, it will be really good if you join us in that effort. Come and see what it is. It's thousands of folk have been a part of that analysis in Palm Beach County, maybe even some of you. And it really clearly lays out how race was constructed and how it could be deconstructed. And especially as we look at a community, a city like Delray, that at one point in your history had a resolution like Resolution 146 that codified into law Jim Crow segregated neighborhoods. And then in 1938, how we had 2 police departments, 1 black police department, 1 white, and trust me, the legacy of both still exists in a racial hierarchy. And then it also help you understand like the importance of like disparity studies and how and why they make a difference in the lives of folk who live in this community. Like you have a wonderful opportunity to live into what you already know is a disparity in the way you do contracts with the Pompei Park contract coming up. I know you're going to do the right thing. I'm going to sit here and watch. Thank you, and hope to see you on the 2nd and on the 15th and 16th.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed.
Wait, I think someone's waving.
Someone waiting? Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening. I'm Mike Geary, 101 South Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Good evening, Mayor Carney, commissioners. I'm the president of Pirtle Construction. For 56 years, we've been proud to serve South Florida. Since our inception Our office has been here in South Florida, and we have repeatedly and successfully served the residents of Delray Beach and Palm Beach County. This evening, as part of the agenda, you will be reviewing the selection results for Pompei Park Recreational Center. As you may be aware, there's a single point of difference in the results recommended by the selection committee for the top two firms, Pirtle being one of those top two firms. Additionally, upon review of the proposal submission by our competition, we noticed various irregularities which led to our decision to file a bid protest. I won't spend time here discussing the details of the protest, unless, of course, you want to. But I would encourage you to read the filing of our protest. These items being noticed, we respectfully request that the Commission exercise their option to move forward with presentations by the top two firms rather than immediately awarding the project tonight. We believe this approach will best serve the residents and the interest of Delray Beach. Pirtle Construction is just not a company that works here. We live here, and our roots are here. We have many employees that live in this area, and we have a strong track record of success and partnership in this community. Having completed over 43 projects for the school district of Palm Beach County, many of which were new schools, including the Village Academy right here in Delray Beach, and most recently the nearby Joaquin Garcia High School. For Pompei Park, we have assembled not only our team of local, and I want to emphasize local, park and community experts, but also experts in this community such as Kristen Cox, Dupree Jackson, and of EJS and community greening. Our stated plan also involves further outreach to the community in terms of direct small business opportunities, matchmaking partnerships with larger firms, and a job fair for members of Delray Beach community to participate directly in the project. Our goal has always been to make this project for Delray Beach by Delray Beach. Thank you for your time and consideration this evening. We look forward to the opportunity to present our excellent qualifications that are important to this project to the Commission, ensuring it serves both the City of Delray Beach and the residents for generations to come.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commission. My name is Ted Cava from Core Construction. We were humbly voted #1 as the construction manager at risk for the Delray Pompei Park RFQ number 2024031. My address is 1641 Worthington Avenue in West Palm Beach. I know our competition was here previously speaking about the selection committee process. We're here today to represent that the staff did an excellent job identifying the integrity of the process. It was clearly identified during the RFP, the items of public outreach, in which our firm did the same exact demonstration. The partnerships locally, not only did we demonstrate that we had a better approach and plan, but we're also locally partnered right here with two partners of Randolph Construction and Hatcher Construction. In addition, we've also demonstrated that our project approach was unique and different and better than our competition. As a result of this, the staff has voted Core Construction, the legal entity presented as part of the RFP process, #1. I know our competition has also identified irregularities inside of the RFP, in which I think the city attorney has responded to. We're here tonight to promote the project. We're here and we're ready to build the project. We're excited to be part of the community and continue the excellent works of Pompei Park and with our partnerships locally, and we're ready to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Mark Stempler. I'm with the law firm of Becker and Polikoff, 625 North Flagler Drive in West Palm Beach. I'm here on behalf of Core Construction. The only path forward tonight is to approve the city's ranking of Core as the top-ranked proposer. The city's ranking followed a long, detailed, and more importantly, sound procurement process. The city has already analyzed hundreds of pages of proposals. It's held multiple selection committee meetings. Its staff has gone through the proposals, and at the end, they heard oral presentations, deliberated, and determined that Core is the top-ranked proposer. The evaluation was conducted in accordance with the RFQ specifications, in compliance with the city's code, and pursuant to Florida procurement law. There's no reason to deviate from that process now. There's no reason to second guess your selection committee. Seeking additional presentations at this point, after the selection committee's ranking, is not something that's directly contemplated in the RFQ. And doing so here arguably would be arbitrary and capricious. As the agenda item acknowledges, the second-ranked firm, Pirtle, protested the results. Your city attorney and your chief financial officer reviewed that protest and denied it entirely. Pirtle then appealed, improperly by the way, by raising new issues that it had already waived, and the city manager denied that appeal entirely. The city's manager's determination is the final word on the issue. The protest is over. There's no reason to go through another round of evaluation. The award, or the recommended award, has been made, and the commission should pursue that path. Asking for additional presentations at this point, as the agenda item suggests, sends the wrong message to proposers of all types for city services. What's the message? That a proposer can go through this process, spend significant time and effort, and go through and then get the results thrown out in the end for no substantive reason. That alone could have a chilling effect on other procurements in the city. So we respectfully request that the commission accept the selection committee's thoughtful recommended ranking and authorize contract negotiations with CORE. CORE remains ready, willing, and eager to work with the city on this very important project. And obviously we're here tonight to answer any questions that may arise during discussion of the agenda item. So thank you.
This will be fast, Mr. Mayor, I promise. Neil Schiller, Government Law Group, 137 Northwest 1st
They're going to make
Avenue.
me start the meetings at 3. The way this is going.
I would love that.
Oh, no, that's not a motion.
Anyways, a consensus has been given.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you for hearing me tonight. Again, Neil Schiller, Government Law Group, representing Pearl Construction. Again, I think that, not to belabor what Mr. Geary said, there was one point between first and second place. Very important project to this district, to the city. It only makes sense that if the City Commission would want to hear presentations as to the differences between Pirtle and CORE, it's definitely within your prerogative. The City Council, or Commission, has done this multiple times previously. And as a public servant, I think that's within your prerogative. We ask you to use that prerogative tonight, and we hope to have presentations before you shortly. Thank you so much.
Any others? Public comment is closed. We go on to regular agenda items, now 7AA, which is former 6C.
Consent agenda?
Oh, of course, we have to approve the consent agenda. May I have a motion to please to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, sorry about that. We are now on the regular agenda item, 7AA, which is former 6C. Would you like, is this the approval of the interlocal agreement between the City of Delray Beach and Delray Beach Community Redevelopment for funding disparity study? Do we want to do 6C and 6D at the same time? Right? Is that
Now
right?
7AA and 7.
Now 7AA and
We'll
7.
have to vote on them separately, but yeah, the discussion. And it'll be quick.
Because it's the same point, right? So
Correct.
It's the same issue. Okay.
Yeah, just pull them together, but for discussion. We've put about $252,000 into this, and we have about the 6 or 8 remaining left. Is that it?
Yes,
There's
ma'am.
only one final payment of 6 or 8, and we're 95% through the process.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I was on the commission in the beginning when we started working on this. I was a female business owner and one of the youngest in my industry, in a male-dominated industry. So I totally support looking and, determining if there's disparity and how we're going to handle it. One of the things that I was wondering in the past, when we started this process, we weren't sure, should we go the route of the study or should we just implement help us to get to that place without having to change our code, which is time consuming. Obviously, this was costly, $258,000, and we're not even close to the end. So I guess what I'm trying to determine is, since we're already sort of at the end, what are we doing in the current moment? Because a couple of years ago when we started this, we started implementing citywide policies, and then I think we backed down on those a little. So I just wanted to hear about that.
I would say, Jeff Forrest, Assistant City
Yes,
Manager, I
thanks,
would tell you
Jeff.
one of the most important things we did was the Small Business Expo that we had last spring, that we intend to try to continue as we move forward. It was, we really reached out to the minority and women-owned businesses, exposed them to the types of purchases that the city makes, particularly smaller ones, the ones that are not responses to RFPs. We had city staffs, city departments represented so that they could speak to the folks who do those purchasing efforts and find out what it is they purchase, what type of equipment, what type of services, so they could connect with some of these. And I do believe there are a couple of
seen
attendees
success.
there that we have seen get some jobs with the city.
Okay.
It was an overwhelming success according to the reviews we got from the attendees, and we certainly, like I said, intend to do it again.
Thank you. And were there other things, if you don't mind, Attorney Jellin or Mr. Moore, were there other things that we discussed implementing at that time? Forgive me, because it was about 2 years ago.
We had a general discussion when we began this exercise with Keeney Independent Research, which is the consulting firm we've been working with in this regard, about possibly adjusting requirements relative to bonding, for example. We found that it is a potential impediment. The size of a bonding process, $1 million bond
Right.
for a particular job, a particular contract, that may not necessitate that dollar amount in value in that regard. Those are some of the ideas we talked about. The direction, however, is to conclude this exercise as we wrap up the disparity study to yield those types of recommendations for City Commission review and consideration. So with the pending conclusion of this particular exercise, we look forward to revisiting and offering considerations regarding such recommendations.
Okay.
Okay, so we need, you have a comment?
Yes.
Please.
I have a question. So phase one was completed of this disparity study, correct?
Yes.
And that phase one identified some actual discrepancies. So I thought I heard Commissioner say that we were looking to see if there were discrepancies.
Oh, no, I'm sure there are.
Specific ones were identified, as we already know. However, we need this data. And you said that we're not even close. How close are we to finishing up phase two?
If you approve this item tonight, we will have a draft report for staff review by the beginning of December, and we would have a presentation for a joint meeting of the CRA and the City Commission on, I believe it's January 14th.
January 14th, 2025.
That's close to me. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good. Commissioner Long? Commissioner Marker?
Nothing.
Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. Motion to approve, excuse me, I need my glasses, interlocal agreement between City of Delray Beach and Delray Beach CRA for funding disparity study consulting services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you want the second motion?
Approval of amendment number 1 to RFP 2022-29029 with Keen Independent Research.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Done.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Orrs. We're now 7A of the regular agenda, which is the approval of, well, would you like to read the resolution, and then who's going to be up to speak first?
It's Mr. Bittaker. Resolution number 213-24, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, authorizing the city manager to negotiate an agreement with Core Construction Services of Florida, LLC, for Pompei Park Recreation Center pursuant to request for qualifications 2024-031, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Okay, before we start the presentation, what is the consensus of the commission with respect to the suggestion, there was a 1-point differential between the two companies, to have them come and make the presentation to us? Because unlike a suggestion that is arbitrary and capricious for the elected body to oversee and discuss what a $44 million expenditure is for a city, which I'm going to respectfully disagree with, it's neither arbitrary nor capricious for the city commissioner to do his job.
I'd like to speak to that, Mayor, if that's okay.
Sure, please, go ahead.
you know, I think how often do we get a $44 million project before us as a commission? And we had two rankings that were within a point of each other. If that, just that alone, to me, we'd be remiss to not look a little closer and hear from both firms. Full presentations, in my opinion. You know, I appreciate the comments on our procurement department, but even a really well-managed procurement department is still going to have some subjectivity in the process. And frankly, we've had a few issues with ours. And so I think us taking that extra step, doing that due diligence, given how important this project is to the city, how long it's been in process, and just the scale of it, I think having just the top two present to us and getting a fuller picture and really, you know, the commission kind of taking the reins at this point, I think it kind of behooves us to do that.
One point different. I mean, Mr. Marker.
Given the magnitude of this project, and it's a big one for our city, I think we should do what Rob said. I think we should take a close look at this and just make sure we're making the right decision. It's too big, it's too chunky, it's too important to our community, and I think it warrants a quick study by the commission.
Commissioner Casal.
The procurement issues, you said that you've addressed those, but those did not result in any point scale adjustments, correct? In the rating?
The bid protest?
Yeah, I mean, any procurement issue did not impact the score.
No.
They're two separate issues.
They did
So
not.
the question is, thank you. The score is, you know, I'm not going to, and it's unfortunate that it's 1 point because it makes it challenging for us because it says, well, you know, that's close, and you know, I'm competitive, so close is good. But excuse me, but. The problem is, I'm not inclined to override our staff experts' recommendations, and I don't want to make somebody come in and do a presentation knowing full well at the outset that I'm not going to override, because I don't feel that I would have the bank of knowledge to override our professional staff on their recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burns.
I agree with Commissioner Casal. Wow.
There you go.
So look, this project is a big project. The community has waited too long for this project. We need to move it forward. 1 point is 1 point. 1 point is a win. Football game, basketball, any game, it's a win. So we have this qualified team of folk that made this decision. I think you're making it political when you put it into the commission's hands. I think we should go along with the recommendation and get this project moving.
Well, I've always felt that it's the staff's job to make recommendations. It's the commission's job to give direction, but that does not abrogate the commission's responsibility to have its own input. So I'm going to agree with Commissioner Long. This is twice in 2 weeks. I don't know.
It's crazy as a record.
Because it is 1 point, and it is a $44 million contract. And I don't know all the details that went into. I saw the rankings. I haven't read the bid. I mean, it was part of our package. It was 2,000 pages long. Respectfully, I didn't get a chance to read any of it. Killed a lot of trees in the process of printing it. But my view is that it's just too big of a project to not have at least a presentation made, and staff will have its opportunity to explain why it came up with its ratings. Maybe the ratings don't change. It's just I am not prepared. You know, we're experts too. I mean, this is all a matter of semantics. As to, you know, I understand that there's experts, but I also understand that there's personalities involved. I understand there's subjectivity. I understand there's objectivity.
Yeah.
I just think with 1 point, this is the biggest contract we've seen since I've been here. I just would like to have both of them come and make presentations.
Do you guys remember that the commission has done this a couple of times before, and one of them we still in a lawsuit now when we overrode the professionals' recommendations. It's happened twice before, not with this commission, not with the previous one, but
well, I mean, I feel fairly comfortable with where I am on this and where case law is on this, so I feel pretty comfortable.
You need a motion, Mayor?
So.
Don't look at me for the motion.
Don't look at me
Need a motion.
I need a motion.
I move that we hear presentations from both of the bidders, the top two bidders.
I think our city attorney would like to interject.
Please. Help me with the motion.
I would just do a motion to table Resolution 213-24, and then you can ask the city manager to schedule a special meeting of the
Good
top
idea.
two.
Yep, and I'll have a couple recommendations. If the decision is made, I'd like to chime in immediately thereafter, please.
Yeah, that's what I heard Rob say.
So motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
So Casal and Burns are no. Great. All right, we're moving on.
Mr. Mayor, before we move to
Oh,
the
yes,
next
okay.
item, I'd like to talk about potential timelines because, of course, as city manager, I am very conscious about the timetable to implement the project. This highly anticipated, long awaited. You have 2 upcoming meetings. I talked about your November schedule, November 4th regular meeting, Monday, November 19th, regular meeting Tuesday. However, you have a joint meeting with the Downtown Development Authority scheduled to take place Monday, October 28th at 4 o'clock. A special meeting for this particular set of presentations can be facilitated perhaps right before that meeting.
What day is that?
That would be a Monday, October 28th, 2024.
I don't have my schedule. I do a paper schedule still. Can we just, or do you need to say that night? Do we need to agree this evening?
Well, I do agree with
It's like
Commissioner
joint
Burns.
meeting,
This has
so-
been going on for a long time. We want to
I'm
get people in
suggesting-
sooner rather than later.
So the city attorney and I just had a side caucus. November 4th would probably be a good idea. So the regular meeting begins at 5 o'clock. A special meeting can take place between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock Monday, November 4th.
Okay.
I would like to recommend that. I think that works for everybody. You'll be around for the regular meeting anyway. 2 hours in advance, I think, should be reasonable. Yes?
I'm just wondering, with all the stuff we got on the 4th going on, should I fill out the vote by mail now, or will I still have time to go to the ballot on the 5th?
Sir, I believe you will.
Okay.
If I may, is 2 hours too much? That seems like a lot.
Can I ask a question for clarification? Is it just the top 2 that the commission wants to receive
Yeah, just the two.
presentations
The two that were, the others were
So
yeah.
maybe we can do it in an
Presentations
hour.
can be limited to 20 minutes each, and then that will give the commission sufficient time to make
2
a
hours is
determination.
You think
2 hours is long then on that basis, so maybe 3:30 to 5 or 4 o'clock to 5.
I would go 3 to 5. I would give us I would rather start at 3, and if we end early, we just end early. But I don't know how much comment there's going to be. I don't
All right,
know.
because your direction is the top 2
Right.
opportunities.
Right.
And again, you can limit the presentations to a specific amount of time per City Attorney Jelen. However, I think that date works. So 3:30 might work, 3 o'clock might work. Please decide.
Now, is it appropriate
Well-
that we also include staff in the conversation?
Of course,
Yes, sir.
because they made the determination.
Right. No,
But-
no,
and now you have to add-
I'm.
Well, it's almost like a de novo hearing, though, because now you're going to take the position of the selection committee. So I think you can always hear from staff, but the rankings are relevant, but you're not bound to them.
May I, if I may, Mayor? Are we, and we have to have public comment at this as well?
That's right.
Well, I think you've now included,
Okay,
it's a
make it
special
3
meeting.
hours.
Well, it's a special meeting. You can
sorry.
limit the amount of
2
public
hours, come
comment.
on.
30 minutes for.
Public comment's limited to
It's
30
30
minutes.
I know, that was.
Mayor, we will need a motion and a vote on this because it is a special meeting.
Okay. I need a motion and a vote.
I move the date of, what do we decide, November 4th?
Monday, November 4th.
November 4th for a special meeting starting at
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock to hear presentations
From the top 2.
from the top 2 firms.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We go to work.
Now we go on to 7B. Anthea's up.
Mayor, this is quasi judicial, if you want to read the rules.
Oh, yes, I need to read the. Is this the only one?
I believe so, sir.
Yeah, wait a minute. I
Are
thought
those
there was
two?
only
Oh,
two.
I'm sorry, 7C
No,
also
7C.
the edge.
Hold on, Anthea. Let me just get my act together here. Items 7B and 7C of this agenda are quasi-judicial hearings. Let me read the quasi-judicial rules. The hearings will be held in accordance with the quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city shall be allowed 15 minutes each to present their case. The public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes if the person represents an organization or a group of people who are present but agree not to speak. The city commission and staff and the applicant may be allowed to cross-examine a witness. The city or the applicant will be allowed to offer rebuttal testimony. The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not be legally made upon personal views as to whether a project is a good or bad project or not, nor may a decision be based on the numbers of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The law requires that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plans, and the land development regulations. Before we start, is anybody here wishing to speak on this? If you could please stand and be sworn by the clerk.
By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Anthea, if you could enter the project into the record, project file.
Good evening, Anthea Janiotis, Development Services Director, and I would like to enter file 2024-184 into the record. And Mr. Cavelli is here representing the applicant.
Okay, ex parte communications. Has anyone had ex parte communications related to this subject?
No, only if something is on the server.
No? No. I have received nothing that I know of unless it's on the server.
Mayor, do you want me to read the resolution?
Please read, that was the next on my list. Please read the resolution.
Resolution 171-24, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, approving a conditional use to allow pet grooming services at 507 East Atlantic Avenue, as more particularly described herein, pursuant to the land development regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Delray Beach, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mike Cavelli, 1209 South Swinton Avenue, Delray Beach. Tonight we have a conditional use request. This is to add a dog grooming facility to an existing retail space in town. The property is located north of Atlantic and east of Fifth Avenue. A little more specifically, it's a 3-unit building. The restaurant right on Fifth Avenue is Muscle Beach. There's a retail space in between, and the site in yellow next to the Colony Hotel is the actual bay that we're talking about, and there is a parking lot in the back of the building for the use of the tenants. This is what you see on Atlantic Avenue in terms of the retail establishment that's existing. Scooby-Doo is a family-owned business in the heart of downtown. It's the only dog and cat ice cream bakery in the area where items are made that are good for the animals to eat, which doesn't affect their gastric issues.
Why not?
It's a full retail pet store selling treats, toys, ice cream, cakes, and more. And they want to add a pet grooming station in the rear of the property. This is what the inside of the store looks like right now. You'll see the door in the back corner. That's an entrance into a space in the rear of the building. So with regards to this conditional use, all animal services are subject to a conditional use. And I might say that it would be nice if we would give direction to maybe, if it's all internal to a building, not have to go through this big, long process. I know the issue is outdoor and indoor uses. This is all indoor. So this is we're asking to add pet grooming to the established retail pet supply store. Animal services are permitted in the CBD, and the use is consistent with the objectives and policy of the comprehensive plan. As I said before, they're asking to add a pet grooming station to the store. It's by appointment only, so it's same-day drop-off pickup. There is no overnight boarding. There is no outdoor use area. And the hours of operation are 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. This is the floor plan of the building. I showed you the area in the front with a picture of the retail space. This is the space that's in the back that will be used as grooming. There will be a wash station, a grooming station, and an area for supplies. There is a back door on this building that goes out to the parking lot, so they can have direct access when with the pets. There are a number of findings that must be made in section 2.4.6A5. There are 2 findings the commission must look at. One is that it will not have a significantly detrimental effect on the stability of the neighborhood. And the second one is it won't hinder development or redevelopment. With regards to the first one of not having a detrimental effect, it's a 990 square foot store that's totally internal to the established commercial building. There's no external improvements proposed, and it has no effect on public services drainage because it's all existing. So positive findings can be made that it won't be a detriment. And also in terms of hindering development, redevelopment, again, it's internal to an established building, so it won't have an effect on any kind of development or redevelopment in the area, so positive findings can be made for this. The next section that has to be looked at is section 3.1.1 that has 4 items, which is land use, concurrency, consistency, and compliance with the LDRs. Land use is CC, and the zoning is CBD. CBD is one of the preferred zonings in CC, so positive findings can be made with regards to the land use map. Concurrency, schools are not applicable. Water, sewer, and solid waste are already being provided for the site, so adequate capacity does exist. There are no external improvements. It all is internal to the building, so drainage is not an issue, and likewise traffic is no increase as well because it's in the existing retail. So positive findings made for that. And the next section is consistency. These are all of the goals, objectives, and policies in the comp plan that would apply to this particular use. And I'm not going to read all those, but as a summary, the proposed use is a Delray Beach small business. It will help to stimulate vitality and economic growth. It provides use that meets the daily needs of residents. The use will add diversity to services provided in the surrounding area. The use provides a potential for neighborhood-based employment opportunities, and there is no increase in scale or intensity because it's all internal to the building. And the last item is compliance with LDRs. It's 4.3.3W. There's a list of items under this section. The first is the hours of operation. As I said before, the proposed hours of operation are 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. The window that's permitted is 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we're within that window, so positive findings can be made. The second item is that it does not have noise or odors. It's fully enclosed, and grooming being limited to appointment only even further restricts the number of pets that are in the area, so positive findings can be made for that. Outside activities are limited to drop-off and pickup with pets in direct control of a leash, so there's no issue with that. The next 2 items for this particular application are not applicable. Then in terms of parking, there's no increase in parking because it's an established retail center, and this is going within that retail center, so there's no additional parking required. There is no overnight boarding. It is an appointment-only drop-off and pickup, so there'll be 1 pet being washed at any one time, and there's no outside use areas. So positive findings can be made for all of these. So with regards to evaluating a conditional use request, you have these code sections that are to be evaluated, and as I demonstrated, all of these sections can have positive findings made for them. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So I think that you've gotten an accurate overview of the proposal. I do want to give a little background to our newer commissioners about pet grooming and pet animal services in general. Ordinance 10 there was an ordinance adopted October 19th of 2021 in response to some disturbances we had with animal services in the city, and then also the trying to address the evolving industry itself. So the requirement for conditional use for groomers, which used to be a permitted use, is that, as grooming and pet services have expanded, the concern was more of a groomer ends up keeping the animal all day in a doggy daycare type of situation, even if it is enclosed and internalized. If barking is carrying, particularly in attached buildings, through the wall and bothering other businesses, things like that. The city went through a pretty rigorous process about this. I'm trying to remember who was on the commission. We did, yeah. And to be fair, we had a business that was bothering the neighbors pretty significantly. So in this case, I think what's important to note is that it's a small retail establishment. It's in the back of the business. It is a small area. It does not provide for any kind of multiple pet socialization, play, interaction in between appointments. So it's unlikely to provide for, disturbances to the neighboring businesses. It has met all of the additional criteria that were adopted at the time. It's well within all of the requirements for the use. And then most importantly, the update to Chapter 2 allows, pursuant to 2.4.6b, that should a problem occur that cannot be resolved through typical code enforcement adjustments, this commission has the ability to hold a public hearing to revoke the conditional use. So there are no problems that are anticipated. They have met the standards that Mr. Cavalli outlined at this time. And the Planning and Zoning Board on September 17th, 2024, recommended approval of the use by a vote of 6-0. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Casal? Oh, I'm sorry.
Public comment.
If there's any members of the public who wish to address this matter, please come to the lectern, give your name and address. Have you been sworn in?
Yes.
Okay. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I won't take all 3 minutes. I just wanted to, Laura Simon, Downtown Development Authority. This is a great item to see. This has been 2 years in the making. This is an epitome of a small business, really looking at ways to continue to be an Atlantic Avenue business. It is also a small adjustment to their internal footprint, and something that this family-owned business would be able to provide a service to those residents and visitors, because it's right next to the Colony Hotel, that are staying here. They don't have to leave our downtown. They don't have to drive. It's all within a walkable community. So we hope that you would support this, and I'm really happy to see it come through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are any other members of the public wishing to comment on this? Seeing none, to the commission.
You're looking at me.
Commissioner Casal. I go back and forth.
I know. I support this. Generally, though, conditional use always concerns me because it's always that factor that we don't anticipate that becomes problematic for us. But I don't foresee any problems. You don't foresee any problems? No. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Burns.
No questions. Everything was answered. I support it.
Commissioner Marker.
Yeah, I'm 100% in favor.
Great. Commissioner Long.
So I have a quick story if the commission will bear with me. There used to be that health food place next to where Harvest is. It's where like Just Salad is now. And they had these great peanut butter popsicles in there. And every time I'd go in, I'd grab one. And the one time I go in, I talk to the guy, I'm like, these are great. And he's like, yeah, people can eat them too. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, those are for dogs. And that place is gone now, so we need somewhere to have doggy ice cream.
You need somewhere to go for popsicles.
Maybe I'll drop by.
Right. That explains a lot.
It tracks, right?
It does.
They were so good.
That explains a lot, folks.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Long.
You're welcome. I thought the public needed to know about that.
Right.
Anyway, this is like all internal, meets all the conditions for the, all the requirements for the conditional use, and we can revoke it if there's any issues. Like, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. So,
didn't this used to be a pet store some years back?
It was Salty Pot. And
they did
Wags to Riches.
Yeah, and they did grooming there as well, didn't they?
No, they boarded, actually. They had those, they were selling dogs. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was
we
not
don't allow that anymore in the city.
No, we don't
either,
permit.
Yes, so it has been a pet industry, and grooming downtown did used to be a permitted use. It's just, like I said, the grooming turns into all-day daycare, turns into playing, turns into barking. And so I think in an abundance of caution at the time, the commission, I remember it really well because we were trying to say, well, do we need to do this because the veterinarians are already a conditional use? And it was like, no, we're making all of them and we'll walk it back if there's no issues.
Right.
So in addition to the regular conditions, are there any special conditions that you recommend, or are we just thinking that this is going to be
there's
there is an appeal process. If they fail, they come back in front of us, etc. I know that.
So the ordinance actually requires a lot of, it limits the hours. It talks about if there's outdoor use area. In this case, there's not, which is where, you can really hear them if they're playing outside. And the common areas, and if there's veterinarian services or what we call pet hotels when it's overnight, it doesn't have any of those things. So the few standards in section 433W that apply to this, they have met.
Fine. Then we need a
motion to approve resolution number 171-24.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Thank you very much.
We want some of those popsicles, though, for Commissioner Long.
We'll bring a dozen of them for you.
He wants some of them.
Now you're curious.
Next campaign, gone to the dogs. I see it already. Yeah, there you go. Okay, we're now item 7C. This is a quasi judicial hearing. Would you please read the
Enter the file number.
yeah, read in the file number, yes. That's what I was getting to.
Good evening, Anthea Gianniotis, Development Services Director, and I would like to enter file 2022-008 into the record.
Okay, are there any disclosure to ex parte communications on this issue?
Yes, I spoke with the representative briefly on another issue, and we just discussed this for a moment. I'm sure there were things on the server. This has been going on for a bit. Spoke to some residents about this as well.
Commissioner Burns? No, not this time. Commissioner Marco? No.
I briefly spoke with the applicant.
I spoke with the applicant, and I've spoken with some of the residents and everything, so that's what we have. Now, you've been sworn in?
Yes. Resolution, Mayor.
Please read the resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, approving a level 4 site plan, architectural elevations, and landscape plan with a waiver to section 4616H3I of the Land Development Regulations to allow a landscape island without a shade tree for the project known as The Edge at Pineapple Grove, located at 605 Northeast 2nd Street, as more particularly described herein, providing for an effective date and further purposes.
Great. You're on.
Okay, great. For the record, Christina Belenke of Miskell Backman here on behalf of the applicant. My address is 14 Southeast 4th Street in Boca Raton. It's a pleasure to be here before you this evening in what is hopefully our final public hearing on this item. We've been working on this property for over 3 years at this point, so I'm sure it's fairly familiar to most of you. I believe even when some of you weren't on the commission, you were following along closely. So I will try and be brief on some of these items. The property is highlighted in the pink box on the screen. It is located at the northeast corner of Northeast 2nd Street and Northeast 6th Avenue. It is within the CBD. Here you have kind of a closer aerial. It's developed with a former but now vacant restaurant. It used to be La Poulette. On the east side, there's also a residential unit existing currently. And just to put things into perspective in terms of what's surrounding in the neighborhood, these are a couple of the residential projects that exist south of the property. The one on the left-hand side of your screen is immediately across Northeast 2nd Street, so directly across from the project to the south. And then on the right-hand side of your screen, that's just south of the intersection on Northeast 6th Avenue. Here we have some new projects on 6th Avenue as well. The building on the right is a commercial complex, offices I believe as well, just north of the project. And then on the left-hand side, that's a new residential development that's going in immediately. I think it's actually to the southeast corner of the project. And then here you have the new residential building that was recently constructed just east of the property. This is across from the alley, so it's immediately east of the alley and adjacent to the property as well. And so here's our proposed project. So you can see a lot of the similarities in materials and textures from what's existing immediately east of it. Our architect will come up and speak to the elevations and the design a little bit more later on in the presentation. But we are proposing a 7-unit townhouse project. This is the view from Northeast 6th Avenue. There will be 4 units fronting Northeast 6th Avenue. The remaining 3 units are fronting Hoffman Lane. Here you have a site plan. So I'm sure as many of you recall, we have been in front of this commission at various points in time related to several prior waivers. We were proposing to have an access point on Northeast 2nd Street previously. It required a waiver because it's a primary street, and where you have an alley, you are required to have your access off the alley. That was ultimately denied, so we did revise our plan. So our ingress and egress is off Hoffman Lane now. And when we went in with that revised plan, I just want to point out the fire reviewers did request that we provide a small gate and a Knox box in this location. So there will be a mountable curb with a gate and a Knox box. Again, that's a box that only the fire department has access to in case of an emergency. And really, they're thinking ahead with electric vehicles, potential fires in the garages. They want to have that access to pull out a vehicle if necessary. Otherwise, we are in compliance with all of the development standards within the CBD. Your maximum building height, we are beneath the maximum level. We do comply with the setbacks, with the streetscape standards. So just kind of running through them point by point. This just demonstrates how we are exceeding, or at a minimum meeting, but I think in most cases exceeding the setback requirements. There was a waiver approved just for this corner on the ground level, but on the upper stories we do meet the setback requirements. We meet it along the primary streets and the alley as well. In terms of the permitted density, we are permitted to develop 30 dwelling units per acre on the site. That would provide for 10 total units. We are proposing 7, so we're within the density permitted, also well under the maximum FAR permitted, which is 3.0 in the CBD, and we are at 1.67. We are also exceeding the streetscape standards. So if you recall, the CBD requires a 4-foot minimum curb zone, 6-foot minimum pedestrian clear zone, and then 5 feet minimum of remaining setback area, so 15 feet total, to provide for these nice, attractive pedestrian streetscapes to facilitate pedestrian movements throughout the downtown. We are exceeding that, providing 20 to 22 feet in all instances. This is our stoop detail, so the detail showing the entrance way to the front doors. This is just to point out that the CBD obviously has frontage requirements to activate the street levels. The stoop is a commonly used frontage type for residential units. So that's what we're proposing, and it will have attractive planters on both sides. Here we do have our landscape plan. Our landscape architect is here as well to answer any questions, but we are proposing a nice mix of landscape materials, including gumbo limbos. They will be within structured soil, so it will prevent any cracks or impacts to the adjacent sidewalks. Japanese blueberry is often seen throughout downtown. It does fairly well here. So we are providing a nice mix of materials to really elevate the project as well. Now we do have one landscape waiver, and it's a waiver to allow for no shade tree within one of the landscape islands at the southeast corner of the property where one is required. And that is purely due to a conflict with an existing water main. And so the box in blue shows exactly the landscape island that we're speaking of. There's 2 on-street parking spaces and then a landscape island at the end of that on-street parking. And so typically we would be required to plant 1 tree there. The red dashed line is the city's water main that runs directly under that area. Because of that conflict, we also had to switch the streetscape. So we have our pedestrian clear zone closer to the drive aisles and our curb zone further in, because we cannot plant trees over the existing water main. The city will not permit that. So instead of planting the tree within this landscape island, we're simply shifting it here to be at the same area as the rest of the streetscape. So we're not seeking to provide less trees. It's just instead of the 6 street trees that are required in that area, we're adding 1 that would otherwise be in that landscape island. Here are our waiver criteria for that landscape waiver. It will not result in an inferior pedestrian experience. Again, we're shifting the tree because of that conflict. It will not create significant incompatibilities. We're not proposing less, we're just proposing it in a different location. It's not going to impact or erode the streets or sidewalk network. It does not have an impact on civic space. We don't have a requirement for civic space in this project. It's not going to adversely affect the neighboring area, again, just shifting the location. It won't significantly diminish the provision of public facilities. Rather, we're doing this so that it does not impact public facilities and the water main that's underneath it. It won't create an unsafe situation, and it will not result in a grant of special privilege. And with that, I'm going to ask our architect to come up and speak to the design.
Start here. I was sworn in already. Nicholas Netta, architect for the project, 920 Gardenia Drive, Delray Beach. As Christina had mentioned, we've been in front of the board multiple times. We worked with a lot of the community to perfect the design, and we think we finally delivered something that everybody could buy into. One of our biggest challenges was activation of both street fronts. So looking at an axiometric view, you could see that the project ties in with the scale and the complexity of the neighborhood. We used a lot of the new developments which were being developed in the area for inspiration and for aesthetic inspiration on the project. Just another axiometric view. Looking at it, you can see, as Christina mentioned, it's 4 units facing onto Federal Highway, and then we have 3 units facing onto Hoffman Lane. The one aspect that we've gone back and forth with both the residents and with the city was access off of Northeast 2nd. We had redesigned the project to remove the access off of Northeast 2nd. The fire department had asked to put an access back in case there was an emergency. We do have electric vehicle charging in each one of the units. They felt with all of the recent incidents with electric vehicles, they wanted a secondary means of access there. So what we're actually doing is we're proposing an emergency sliding gate with Knox box, which the only access to the Knox box would be by the fire department. But we wanted the gate not to be a gate, but to be architectural and to blend in with the overall contextuality of the design. And then finally, looking at it, we try to create something which was visually impactful. We use a lot of landscaping in the architecture to green it. It has a lot of textures. It has a lot of shadow context. It's not a flat surface. It's very articulated. We think it would be a nice enhancement to the corner. That's it. That's the end of the presentation.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Chinotis.
Okay. I'm just waiting for the presentation to load. Hopefully. Okay, so under the process, I just want to be really clear. This is final approval. This is not coming back as an appealable. This is the approval of the project. So it's a level 4. You're approving the elevations and the landscape plan. This is now a 4-story, 7-unit townhouse development. It is under the current density that is permitted on the site. And it is using an architectural language that predated the limitation on it for earlier sort of review. So 2 things to be clear is that the commission approved resolution number 1124, which reduced this front setback of the quarter from 10 feet to 3 feet 6, as Ms. Belenke explained. And part of the approval of the landscape plan does include approval of that waiver for that one little corner. So this is the site. It has an old restaurant on it, and actually also includes the house next door. It is the property at the corner of Northeast 6th and Northeast 2nd with the alley running behind it, which has been named Hoffman Lane because there are other units that are facing it. Both Northeast 6th and Northeast 2nd Street are primary streets, and the way that our four-base code works, that distinction is important based on design and the uses. So this project has taken a long time, and it's taken a long time because the way that the code wants this project to be developed is that the building should line both streets and create that sort of seamless pedestrian environment with vehicular access off the alley to the rear. And for the record, the code has won a Dre House Form-Based Code Award, so I don't believe that the code is at issue. So the first submission, instead of the sort of diagram layout that the code is looking for, was a row of townhouses facing the street, pedestrian access across Primary Street, and another row of townhouses facing an alley, which was not contemplated at the time. So it's been through a series of hearings and considerations, a lot of consideration, a lot of public input, and what is before you today is 7 townhouses. It was originally 8. There is only emergency access and pedestrian access crossing 2nd Street here, with the project circulating completely off of the rear to internal garages. It includes adding 3 new parallel parking spaces. 2 are here, and 1 is on Northeast 6th. And then the trash will be collected. There's a designated area here. And it's basically 4 units face 6, 3 units face Hoffman Lane, which is an ongoing issue because the next thing you're going to see is the plat, and the plat is going to be simple, probably properties that will face an alley. So it has been just an ongoing, adjust for a townhouse project. This is the part that the neighborhood had the most concern about, was that there would be a vehicular access too close to the intersection, and it would also create a pedestrian vehicular conflict point where it really should have been consolidated to the alley. The applicant has done this. The applicant has met this requirement, and what you'll see now is a fence providing security where the mailboxes are. There's a tree, so there's, before there was a bigger gap because they had to make room for vehicular access. That has been resolved. There's bike routes, so it's more of that seamless pedestrian realm that they were looking for. We're going to have to talk about the actual final design of the fence and if it's part of what I would like the commission to authorize staff, because in the central business district, if your fence is in the front setback, it is limited to 4 feet in height. What's on the drawing now is 6 feet in height, so it either needs to be repositioned to be in line with the facade or lowered in height. But if you would consider letting us adjust that administratively, that would be, I think, something that we could work with the applicant prior to certification. There will be a series of dedications required. Hoffman Lane is technically an alley. It requires a 2-foot dedication along the border of the site. There's a corner clip. All of this was considered with the original setback waiver that had come forward before and with the access issues, and all of this has been, I think at this point, vetted and figured out. There are a series of findings that you're making with this approval. One is that it's consistent with the land use map, that it's consistent with concurrency. The overall trip will not add more than 32 daily. The overall traffic impact will be no more than 32 daily trips. There's no negative impact on schools. There's no financial obligation, even though it's residential. They will be subject to a parks fee at the time of permit. And they are all 3-bedroom townhouses with roof terraces, and while we strive to have a mix of units, this is only 7 units, and so it's not required to do it. The position at this point, where it doesn't meet the standard, they've received relief, so everything is in order with the LDRs. The streetscapes, which is part of the most important part of the downtown code, because we're trying to shape the outdoor room that everybody experiences with these buildings, meets or exceeds the requirements of the code. So you have to have, for example, a minimum 4-foot curb zone. It's 4 feet 7 inches to 6 feet, so it's wider than what's required. The pedestrian zone is 6 feet. And if you look at the landscape plan, there's a little more air here even, because the streetscape is drawn as if the raised planter goes all the way to there. It actually is set back just a little bit more. DOT requires the sable palms, which is not ideal, but it's what's required and established there. And then if we look at Second, again, all of the minimum standards are, they're either met or exceeded. So the pedestrian zone is wider once you're past the on-street parking that's provided. So all of those standards have been met. There is a flipping of usually the street trees are adjacent to the curb and the pedestrian zone is there. There is an underground water main, I think Ms. Blanke spoke to it, that also impacts the waiver request for the tree. So the entries have these stoop entryways. They have raised planters. Photometrics have been evaluated and are in line. They have exceeded the minimum parking requirement. Every unit has 2 space garages, and then 3 new on-street spaces are provided for guests. The Central Business District has required alternative fuel parking spaces so that you can either deal with an electric car or something else. They have committed to putting 1 in every garage, so they are exceeding that. They have the bicycle racks, everything that's required for those mobilities. The landscape plan, I know we get very sensitive about trees being removed. The trees that are being removed, 2 of them are invasive. There are 7 palms. Everything has been mitigated within the new plan, either tree for tree or based on the diameter of the trunks and replaced. However, we also have a rule that if there's already street trees, that you still provide more trees, and ultimately the decision was to contribute to the in lieu fee. In this case, it'd be $9,450. That's part of their technical requirements. The trees that they are installing along Northeast Second are gumbo limbos. Everything is, this will come back to you in a landscape maintenance agreement later if the project is approved. It's pretty standard for downtown, so it's not unusual. This is the tree. I think you got a good overview from Ms. Belenke. There's an underground water line here, so we really don't want them to plant a tree there. So, at any rate. And then in terms of the architectural elevations, the findings you're making are that it meets proper design concepts, honest design construction, that it's appropriate to the surrounding areas. You have to disapprove it if you think that it's not in good taste and good design and is not in harmony with the surroundings, or if it would depreciate the neighboring properties. So the way that you use that guide or architecture design guidelines, this is what tells you the proper criteria for design concepts and good design. There are many aspects of the code that are clearly evident in their proposal. There's a base, a middle, and a top. They are using, some of the aspects of like the recesses and other things that are consistent. There's a base, a middle, and a top. The renderings, the 3-dimensional renderings, look lighter than the color that is showing. Again, on the elevations, we typically require color chips at some point because you can paint it. So we want to see what the colors are for the record finally. But these are all very minor things to adjust. I mean, the design of the building is complete at this point. So you are making a determination that the proposed architecture is in harmony with the surroundings and that it won't depreciate the neighbors. There are technical notes on the staff report. These are really not conditions of approval. They're just things that have to happen later. Again, there'll be a landscape maintenance. There may be a plat. There will be a plat with the dedications and other things. The project is over 15,000 square feet, so at the time of building permit, it would have to be green certified. And then, that entry in the circulation, that has just been an ongoing changing thing that they've been adjusting to meet the neighborhood's concerns. And so we need to just sort of finalize the fence, but it's a minor detail that we could address administratively if it's okay with the city commission. The DDA saw this back in 2022, and at the time they approved it. They did, again, this was 2 years ago. They have added greenery and street trees. The design has evolved over time. And the Planning and Zoning Board saw this final version in September of 2024, and they recommended approval 5-1. And they wanted to make sure there was a Knox box for emergency access to 2nd Street within the HOA documents that would follow. So it was a very detailed recommendation that they were thinking it through. So that's an overview at this point. I think the project has been rigorously reviewed in the public, and I'm interested to see if anyone is here. We did directly email the representatives of Palm Trail to make sure that they were aware the final hearing was today. Yeah. That completes my presentation. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. So if there's any members of the public that do wish to get up and speak on this project, please come to the lectern, give your name and address. Have you been sworn? You have been sworn. I saw you.
Good evening. Michael Schlesinger, 200 Northeast 7th Avenue, Unit 3. I am the residence right on the east side of the alley. My sole entrance to my property, my driveway, my main door is on the alley. This project continues to be a very bad idea. It's unsafe. It's going to you're going to have 14 additional vehicles as a result of a 7-unit, 2-car garage development utilizing that alley. I hope each of you voting tonight has been to the alley and has actually seen the site, because if you have, you'll clearly know, even with a 2-foot dedication that the developer is proposing, it's not suited to that kind of incremental traffic. It's going to create an unsafe situation. Just tonight, when I was coming out of my driveway, I almost got hit by a car because there's no room in the alley, and 2 feet is not going to make a significant difference. And then when you add on to that, not just the vehicles that are going to be parked in the garages there, but Uber drivers, Amazon delivery people, guests. I mean, this alley is going to be burdened by this project, and it's not suited to it. And the fact that the developer has been back and back and back, to me, is irrelevant. And it's not relevant to your decision making here. What should be relevant is this going to be creating a dangerous and unsafe situation in that alley? I mean, it's notable their presentation didn't even address that at all, and has never made any effort to address that. It's misleading to say that they've worked with the community. Palm Trail is a couple blocks to the east of where this site is. Their issues are different than the people who are immediately on the alley. So to say that this has been resolved with the Palm Trail residents is, to me, entirely irrelevant. But I mean, it's just baffling to me that they keep coming back, and it's like whack-a-mole. Every time they change something in their development plan, something else pops out that creates an even greater problem. And now they're saying, let's use this narrow alley that is not suitable for this high volume of activity to address the latest problems that they have. So I've been to some of these hearings. I've been to the commission hearing once. I've submitted comments. Hopefully you're all hearing them, and hopefully you're familiar with the site and recognize that the development plan as proposed is unsafe. It is not compliant with the LDR requirements as such, and should be rejected. And they should be sent back again to come up. I think the answer is it's too much density on their site, and they need to reduce that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Seeing none. Was there any cross-examination from the applicant and city staff?
No cross, just a rebuttal, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
So I just wanted to address some of the comments that Mr. Schlesinger made, because his concerns were noted to us at the beginning of our project when we were first coming to public hearing. Mr. Netta met with him out on site to walk through some of his issues and concerns. And primarily our understanding was that his concern was us having access off the alley, which the code does dictate, because of potential conflicts with where his driveway is. We obviously were pursuing the waiver request to provide access off Second to alleviate that condition, but ultimately that was denied. And so the code does dictate our access point at this time. We are not permitted to have access off Second. We are not permitted to have access off 6th Avenue. So really the only access for any development of this site would be from Hoffman Lane. The other point I do want to note, and thank you for bringing this slide up on the screen, right now there's probably only about 12 feet of actual pavement within that alley. There is 2 feet that was dedicated adjacent to Mr. Schlesinger's property, but it has not been improved yet. And then obviously we would be dedicating an additional 2 feet. So we're going from a drive aisle that's roughly 12 feet right now, and I do believe Mr. Netta measured that at one point, to when it's ultimately improved to be 18 feet for the most part, 16 it would narrow, or sorry, 20 feet for the most part, and it would narrow to 18 at the north end of the property. So the alley will see improvements along the way as part of this project as well. It is only 32 trips. We do have our traffic engineer available if you have any questions related to the safety concerns, because that's been thoroughly vetted by our traffic consultant as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Staff?
Just to expand on that, the code requires that that the alley serve as a primary function, doesn't have to be the sole function. I think the issue coming down the thinner side of the block was how quickly the curb cut and the queuing was going to happen to the corner, and the concern for people coming around the corner, somebody stopped with their blinker on, waiting for the gate to open, etc. There are other curb cuts that are on the property now in its previous life as, I think, a restaurant. I'm not privy to DOT allowing or not allowing, but it is a primary, perhaps it could have gone differently. But we've been in this for 2 years with multiple reviewers. There is not a safety concern that is recognized. It is interesting that the triplex that is to the east, where Mr. Schlesinger lives, had to give a 2-foot alley, but it is currently landscaped as if it is private property. It's not, it's city property. So when you take the dedication that this project will do and that deed allows, the alley will widen to 20 feet along most of the property. At the time when we really went over this access issue, I'm looking at Commissioner Long because I know he went through that one with us. That alley actually serves a lot of businesses that take access from it. Through the entire, it's the long side of the block, and there's a tremendous amount of circulation that little alley is accommodating, even in its substandard, condition today. So at this time, it has been through the Technical Advisory Committee, which is comprised of all the departments that review new development, and the proposal is not considered unsafe.
Okay. No other okay, to the commission. Commissioner Long.
Man, I think I saw this project way back when I was on planning and zoning several times, and now this is the third time here. I feel like I could build this thing at this point. We've seen it a lot, and the applicant has really strived to work with, especially the community in Palm Trail. So they've been very vocal in this process, and the fact that no one's here to me speaks to the fact they must be okay with it. But I did hear someone spoke at one of the meetings, in support from the HOA. Is that correct?
At the Planning and Zoning Board.
I think that's worth noting because they have been very involved in this process literally for years now. I'm going to keep my comments relatively brief because we've talked about this so much. I can't think of a project at this scale, especially, that has gone through as much due diligence as this one has with our staff. They reduced it by a whole unit. We've seen the circulation change. We've seen all these different changes. And I think what we've ended up here is with a really great project. The waiver, relocating a tree, that's why we have waivers, right? You're just putting a tree somewhere else because there's a utility line there. Of course, why wouldn't we approve that, in my opinion? Other than that, it seems like it's complying with the LDRs across the board. So to me, that this is an easy one. I'd like to hopefully have this be the last time we have to drag you guys in for this. But I guess we will have to do the landscape plan, right? We don't have to. That's ministerial. Okay, awesome. So I'm hoping this is the last time you guys have to come in. I'm going to be in favor of this. I think it's a great project, and I think it's well designed. I like the design of it. Thank you.
Commissioner Marker.
Yeah, a couple things. I walked this site a couple months ago with the folks from Palm Trail when they contacted me and had concerns about it, and they were very fair in their commentary, and I think we've addressed their concerns, and I think that's why they're not here tonight. The alley, yep, it's a little bit tight, no question about that. But as you've said, it doesn't really pose a safety threat, the other modification we made on 2nd Street, closing that entrance, made sense to me when I walked it. So, and I'm not fussed by not being able to put the tree where the water main is that you and I talked about. That wouldn't make any sense. So I'm generally in favor.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes, I sat in on at least one of your sessions, so congratulations to get into the final hearing. So staff has guaranteed that there is not a safety concern. In terms of density, you are allowed 10, you were at 8, and you've reduced it to 7, so you have reduced it. And also, am I to understand that once you have the alley improvements, you will have not 2 feet, but 6 and possibly 8 feet additional space in the alley?
So right now, I think the paved portion of the alley is about 12 feet. The actual dedication area ranges from 18 to 16 going north. We're providing an additional 2 feet of dedication. But yes, once fully improved, there will be that additional 8 or so feet of improved area.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Casal.
Yeah, could you speak to that comment about the HOA documents and the Knox box? I think that the residents implied that they wanted to just make sure that that gate stayed locked. But what why was that recommendation?
Actually, so the city can enforce it. It's hard to do it against
because
individuals.
otherwise there's no
by everyone being a member
enforceability.
of an association, and you make the responsibility for the maintenance of it with the association, the city can enforce it against the association for failing to keep up with their documents.
So for the record, Susie Rodriguez, Senior Planner. So basically, the Palm Trail HOA did attend the PZB meeting, and they did contact me prior to that meeting. Their major concern was that the gate, if it would be ever open, not for emergency access. And I did let them know that on the plans it did say emergency access only. But it was the concerns if this was ever to be open, who would be able to take charge of that. So that is why it was on the HOA documents, to make sure that the HOA will be in charge to make sure that that is only open for emergency purposes.
Okay, so I imagine then you all recommend that we incorporate that? I'm sorry, City Attorney, do you have a...
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think that.
can I ask her just to?
Yeah, we do it all. We do it all.
No, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I think it's sufficient if the site plan has the emergency provision on it. That's what the city would.
Oh, so you're saying the site plan, not the HOA documents?
You can require that.
Okay.
It should be part of the HOA docs.
But we would enforce it through the site plan.
Got it.
Code
Thank
purposes.
you. And then if I could ask Anthea one more question, if you don't mind. Those are rooftop terraces. They're not appurtenances because they're at the bottom.
Right. So the CBD code allows rooftop access. If you're
Right.
downtown, it's more
That's
lively.
right.
So we do have height limitations in terms
Right.
of how high
Do we
the
have
stair
limitations
tower.
on what can be
They
on
have-
there or no?
I mean, they're residential, so these are individual residences, so they would have to be. I mean, could you have your child's birthday party up there? Sure.
No, I don't mean
you know?
activity-wise. I mean
Yeah.
like hot tubs, barbecues, that
you
kind
know,
of stuff. Is that?
It's all covered by the code, and what is on the drawings currently meets the code.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember if you had.
So
No.
I'm just curious sometimes.
Yeah, we removed the pools a long time ago.
Oh, thank you. Good. I know we did that. I thought we did that. Yeah. Okay, great. I support this, and I do appreciate how many times you've come in front of us. I understand what the gentleman is saying, but I think that we do, appreciate the amount of variation and collaboration that went into this to get this project where it is, because right now we're just looking at a tree.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, when they keep coming back, I was one of the original people, as you know, before I was up here, and I was over on that side, looking at the safety issues. Could you pull up the aerial, so I could see the aerial for a second? Because I just want to compare, I just want to make sure that I'm correct, that the entrance to the entrance to the driveway here is beyond the entrance to, yes, it is, it's beyond it. That's what I wanted to make sure. His entrance to there, to his garage is there.
Yeah, so this
The 200 unit
unit
one.
directly across the alley also takes access to the vehicular parking from here,
Right,
and
but
you
they-
can
but-
see the double line of where the piece is that belongs to the city for ultimately
Right.
improving the alley.
But the main entrance to it is going to be in the rear of the project there,
Here,
correct?
yes, it
Yeah,
will-
okay,
it will
okay.
come
I just
here
wanted to make
and
sure that it wasn't
circulate.
right across the street from it.
Right.
And I have the same issues related to the roof terraces, but you've answered those questions. I mean, at some point they've met all the conditions, so there's really.
Or been granted relief.
Or have been granted relief. Well, yeah, but the other relief was, Now, I will say that you should have the authority to internally to do that adjustment that you've asked for, the height adjustment. So, was that part of the resolution? Do we have to make that as a
Or
separate?
just resolve the position so that it can be the height they want. If that's okay.
In approving the resolution, you can add that language at the end.
Okay. I just want to give you that authority to do that.
Thank you. And the general review boards do occasionally.
Otherwise, it would have to come
work
back
with
to us, and we don't want it to come back to us.
Thank you.
That's on the wall you're talking about? Which height are you talking about?
Yes.
I'm sorry. On the wall?
On the fence.
On the fence, I'm sorry.
On the fence.
Okay, motion to approve resolution number 188-24, allowing staff to address the issue of the height on the fence and asking the applicant to incorporate the Knox box and the gate being locked in their HOA documents.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a passed.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all your time on this project and all of staff's time as well.
Your time.
Taking a wonderful-
Listen,
We worked hard.
I've been following you for 2 years, so.
I know. All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, this should be quick. 7D, appointment to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. It is Ms. Casal's appointment.
Yes, Fauna Austin Badgett. Have a great evening.
Fauna Augustin Badi?
Yes. thank
Okay,
you.
do you have a second?
Oh, second.
Okay,
Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
He is appointed. Mine is the next one. I'm going to appoint Alan Kirschenbaum to the,
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, okay. The last one is is Commissioner Burns. This is the nomination to the Board of Trustees for the Firefighters Retirement System.
Oh, Alan Kirschenbaum was on that one too, huh?
Oh, I took Alan. Did you want Alan?
Tom, no, I'm okay. Tom Glansfield.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Great, Mr. Glanfield. And next we have Resolution 200-24. Did you want to, is Laura going to be, who's going to be?
I'll actually make the
Okay.
presentation. It's very brief.
Do you want me to read it?
It's just movement.
Sorry?
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, please read the resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending its budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024 by providing for supplemental appropriations in the amounts identified in Exhibit A, repealing all resolutions inconsistent herewith, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually very brief simply because this is all driven by the Community Redevelopment Agency. If I can get assistance with the first of the two slides, please, just to facilitate the presentation. Somebody? I could have been done with the presentation by now, so I'll just go ahead and flat through it.
That is the first of the
Motion
two
to
slides.
approve.
All right, but briefly, this is simply community redevelopment.
Second.
Thank you.
Just to conclude, it's briefly a presentation, Community Redevelopment Agency, an increase in expenditures of $36,000 to cover additional technology services reimbursable by the Community Redevelopment Agency, as well as an additional $174,010 for additional pressure cleaning services, stump removal, and tree replacement in the downtown district.
Right.
Likewise, adjusting the general fund budget of $210,010 aggregately from $186,979,989 to $187,189,999. In addition to that, we have several adjustments in relationship to Northwest Neighborhood Redesign, Pompei Park Community Center, and shade tree structure, Carver Square Park, new playground equipment and installation, bringing that additional total of $1,420,880. Likewise, the general construction fund amended budget from $64,795,210 to $66,216,090. With that, I yield.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, item 7H.
Resolution 103-24, a resolution of this, sorry, I can't see.
Resolution of 103-24 approving an agreement with Red Speed Florida LLC for speed detection camera system for school zones utilizing Southeast Florida Governmental Purchasing Co-op and its lead agency, City of Plantation, request for sealed proposals RFSP number 005-24.
Authorizing the city manager to execute any amendments thereto and take any and all actions necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution, providing an effective date and for the purposes.
Perfect.
Teamwork.
Woo,
Teamwork. Well, I wasn't going to read the whole thing. I wanted,
Why bother? It's just.
Mayor, Commissioners, Chief Russ Major, Delaware Beach Police Department. I just wanted to give you a brief overview. I brought my team with me. They've done a lot of excellent work with regard to finding out the information as it relates to photo camera enforcement. As you know, first and foremost, the safety of our children in those school zones is paramount. Through the use of photo enforcement, it's a game changer. We are able to leverage technology and basically use the cameras as a force multiplier. The cameras are always there. In order for me to cover approximately 20 school zones, you can imagine the labor and the intensity that it would take to actually lay out officers at all those locations for approximately 8 hours a day. The statute allows for half hour before school starts till half hour after school starts, and the same rules apply half hour before schools end till the half hour after school. During the school day, however, you're able to utilize the camera system to actually affect traffic as it relates to speeding in school zone areas, which is really, to me, the absolute interest is to slow down speeders all throughout that day. It only occurs Monday through Friday, not on weekends, and only during school hours. And again, the goal is to create a safe environment for our children in those school zones and actually correct bad behavior as it relates to speeders. I'm going to turn the microphone over to my colleagues. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
So it's, that's it for the presentation? Okay, well then, that's fine. If you want to,
we will provide whatever information you might have.
Who would like to go first? Commissioner Long?
Sure. I think it's a good thing that it's going to be enforced, that's an option to enforce our speed limit, even not during those school hour times. I think we should. I think it's a bonus, frankly. That's going to train people to slow down in those areas all the time, and that still has the 11 was an 11 mile per hour buffer. So they would still have that buffer even when it's not during, like when the limit goes back up, when it's not the times of the school zone times. It would be 11 miles an hour buffer on top of what that speed limit goes up to. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. That is correct, and it's also adjustable, so we can have 11 during that time and then raise it to 15 through the day.
Got it. Okay, so we're giving
So
people.
you're talking people would be doing in excess of 40 or 45 miles an hour
Right.
in a residential area before they receive the citation.
I mean, to me, why wouldn't we want to use that tool to slow down people in those areas? They're in like, if I could put those cameras all up and down Old Germantown Road, I would. People go like 70 miles an hour on it. I'd like to bust them all day and all weekend. But I think being able to use this is a benefit, and the revenues go back to what I mean, I talked to Lieutenant Ferrari about this, and I know we have several schools that don't have crossing guards right now. And this could potentially fund those with the revenue that we get. Is that correct?
So the fine breakdown, it's a $100 fine. The way the fine breaks down, $60 is retained by the city. Of that $60, the portion of the vendor fee comes from that $60, whatever that fee is. Then from there, $3 goes to the FDLE, Florida Department Law Enforcement Trust Fund, for ongoing education for officers. $12 goes to the school district for safety initiatives. $5 goes to the crossing guard retainment and recruitment program.
Okay.
I think that's what you're referring
Got
to.
it. Okay.
And then $20 goes to the general fund for the state of Florida.
So I'll finish up with this. For me, there's no downside. It's more funding. It's safer neighborhoods and safer schools. Like, I don't know why we wouldn't want to utilize these as often as possible if we're going to have them. Thanks.
Commissioner Casal.
I don't have to do ex parte on this, do I?
Huh? No, this is
okay.
no.
Thank you, because I did have ex parte. And listen, I'm all about getting money. We've met and talked about the fact that this ticket is a relief for residents, because if they get a ticket when they're driving by an officer, it would be considerably more.
It would be 4 points on your driver's license in addition to a $300 fine.
So there's no points, and there's
That
a
would be
lesser
correct.
fine. One of the things that I was speaking with our city attorney about is potential for litigation, and Mr. Schiller has indicated that in the piggybacking, we would be indemnified, and he said he has Weiss Sirota to address any issues. Does the city attorney feel comfortable with this? Not on a personal level, but on a legal level.
I love Neil, so. No, I mean, the indemnification provision, it's very strong.
Okay.
The reality is, whenever there's new technology for any types of tickets, there are these ticket clinics that will litigate these things. And so, but I did review it before the meeting today, and I feel comfortable that they would cover our attorney's fees, any judgments or fines that are issued against the city in the event that there were. So I am comfortable with the indemnification provision. I will just caution the commission that because this is a piggyback, whatever the terms and conditions that the city of Plantation agreed to, we cannot make any changes. So if you're not comfortable with the 24 hours, that's a material change to the agreement, and we can't make those changes. So what I would tell you is we would have to do our own solicitation and see if there are companies that are willing to do, less of an enforcement. So I know it was a large agreement, but I just want everybody to be sure that whatever is in that agreement is what the agency and the city has to follow in order to move this forward.
So if we decide we don't want to comply with their guidelines, you're saying we'd have to go out for an RFP, but other RFPs have found that this company is the better qualified. They've selected this company based on the value.
Under whatever terms
Correct.
and conditions
Under
they issued in their solicitation. Yes.
So I guess one of the biggest concerns I have is just that we properly educate well in advance, so no one's surprised. And I know that in speaking with Mr. Schiller, he said there is a plan in place to do that for the 30 days. Would they do that in conjunction with our communication department as well, or? Yes. Okay.
It would be yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And then you are saying that we could adjust the so we could say 11 miles per hour during this school time, but you could up that during the other times of day. I would be amenable to that.
That is correct. In addition to, most of the schools are in residential neighborhoods.
Correct.
Nobody wants that
At all.
amount of speeding in front of their home.
No, I agree.
Speeding is probably our number one complaint that comes into the police department.
Right. Yes, sure.
I want to make sure I heard 24 hours, and I just want to make sure everybody's aware. The statute only allows for 30 minutes prior to whether it's if they have a breakfast program, 30
Yeah.
minutes prior to the start of that,
Right.
till 30 minutes after the end of the school day.
Right.
It also allows for the total time between that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
It's not the remainder of the day.
It's the
I just wanna
flashing,
make sure.
30 minutes before the flashing lights and then maybe
Correct.
30 minutes after the flashing lights or whatever, some slight variation of that.
Yes, it's basically that
Understood.
9 to 10 hours during the day.
Okay.
When school is actually in session, kids are on campus.
And so I guess the only thing I would say and just is what's the contractual out? Say we get this, and I'm very much in support of this. I hope that it is what we anticipate it will be. And I hope that it does, reduce the speeding in the school areas and neighborhoods, and also, provides us a slight revenue source that can be utilized in a way towards the schools. But I guess my question would just be to our city attorney. Say this doesn't go as we anticipate. Do we have a contractual out?
Yes, there's three bases for termination: for convenience with 30 days notice, for cause, and then by mutual termination.
Okay, then I definitely support this, and I thank you, gentlemen.
And ma'am, if I may, just to clarify
Sure.
two things that you mentioned. The statute actually requires a 30-day education period before
Right.
we can go live. And then as far as the speed limit, if the commission moves forward with approving this evening, there is a step where an ordinance would have to be created, and the speed limit would have to actually be set in that ordinance, whatever that variation may be.
Oh, gotcha. And then another one thing that's very important, I think, is the turnaround time. When I was speaking to Mr. Schiller, I know somebody in the police department will be, somehow the information comes to you and then you have to hit a button and shoot it out. But I guess my point is if we don't turn it around quickly enough, then people aren't going to know. And that 30 days is most important if you're doing warnings, I think, or something like that. You're doing warnings in the first 30 days.
There's a warning or educational period in that first 30 days, basically saying the enforcement will not start until the 30th
Right.
day or
Right.
the 31st day.
I guess my point is if someone's getting tagged, then they need to know pretty quickly, so that they don't do it again.
Yes. So the way the system works, every violation, before a violation is mailed out to the violator, an officer or a traffic enforcement officer by statute, it's called, that individual has to look at each violation, which takes roughly a minute, let's say,
Yeah.
to verify that the tag information matches the vehicle information. They click approve, and then that violation is mailed out.
Okay.
That's a process that I would have to assume is going to happen quite frequently, a couple of times a week, based on the amount of violations. We've had a discussion with staff about that as to who would be doing that, and as this kind of progresses, we'll come
Do
up with
you
a plan.
anticipate additional hires in order to? Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Can I
gentlemen.
just ask you a point
I
of
just want to
clarification?
add one thing to what Lieutenant Ferrari said. The verification on the speed is done 3 times. So red speed would verify it twice
Okay.
with 2 different mechanisms, a time distance along
Yeah.
with a radar.
Got it.
And then as Lieutenant Ferrari said, the traffic officer verifies it again along with the tag information matching the vehicle.
Great.
Which is even more than what a traffic officer does with just a
Right.
simple laser, one verification.
Thank you.
I'm comfortable with the technology. I just want to have a clarification. You say, so how much of this, so when it says money's going to the school board, which school board?
It's for the district.
It's Broward County, is it not?
No, our district.
It's going to ours, okay.
It's our school
Because you got money
district.
going to the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, FDLE, right?
Well, no, FDLE is the Florida Department of Law
Florida
Enforcement.
Department of Law
That's
Enforcement.
Right,
the-
but I'm saying, but what do we have going to the, what do we have coming here?
To
The city?
Yeah.
well, it's $60
Because
minus
it's a
the
plan.
fee.
My only concern. Look, I love the technology.
No, go
I
ahead.
love the idea. I hate having all of our rules governed by the City of Plantation.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
So even though we are governed by their agreement, the technical aspects would still revert back to Delray and Palm Beach County.
Okay, that's fine.
We're
That's all I
just
wanted to-
utilizing their solicitation.
I just want to make sure that our school board's getting the money, and that was really my only concern. And that as long as we can adjust the speed, because I do agree with you that we don't want people. I mean, a lot of times speed limit there is 30 or 35. I don't want somebody driving through there at 50 miles an hour anyway. I mean, we just don't.
No, and like I said, most of our schools are in residential neighborhoods, and we've spent numerous millions of dollars in infrastructure to reduce speed as it is, with either speed bumps, speed diversions, roundabouts, and things of that already in neighborhoods. This is just another additional layer. In addition to that, it also provides this technology. Each one of these camera systems is going to have an LPR system attached to it,
Okay.
which makes the community safer, the school safer, and the city safer. The LPRs run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All that infrastructure is paid for by Red Speed,
Okay,
not
answer
by
my-
the city.
That was a technical question. Commissioner Burns.
Yeah, well, I've been in support of this since I heard about it, but I wanted to ask a question about the time during school hours. Was that always a part of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I understood the half hour before half, but the time while school is in session, that was always a part of it from the beginning?
Yes, ma'am. When the legislation looked at this, they know that during the school day, you have obviously physical education where kids are outside, you have kids being picked up from school, you have variations of children coming to and from that school to provide that safe environment throughout the entire school day.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Marker.
Yeah, I have a few comments. I talked to Chief Major about this recently. Number one, I really like the fact that we can use technology as opposed to putting physical officers at every location. I mean, that doesn't make sense in this day and age. So I like this very much. It's in line with our real-time crime center. So we are embracing technology in our little hamlet really nicely. I like that. I also have some experience with this. My family and I lived in Australia 20 years ago when cameras came in Australia. They were early adopters of cameras, and they put them everywhere. And there was a little bit of public outcry at the very beginning. And some of the things that they did that worked really well, they put up really big signs, sometimes with flashing lights on it. They made it stand out, and you really didn't have a lot of ground to complain if you got a ticket because it told you, even on the highway, you're coming into a speed camera zone. You know, so I think if we're aggressive with our communication and we sign this well, we'll take a lot of anxiety out of this. So I'm very much in favor of this. I think this is a great idea. And back to somebody's comment that we have to follow Plantation's lead on this if we do this piggyback thing. If we do that and we don't like it, we can still get out on 30 days notice. So it's not a long-term commitment for us.
It's fine. Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Because he brought up in my car, when I'm driving on the highway, I get this notice in my nav system. It says speed cameras ahead. Will people get that?
Depending on what app you use for your navigation system, whether it's Waze or one of the other apps, they're always notifying you of different speed zones and how it's calculated, whether it's
Right.
camera enforcement or whether it's a physical officer.
That's just the only concern there. And listen, I do still support this. Is like the poorest people with no nav systems driving to work, trying to get them. They're going to get tagged. And
Well, the nice thing about this is that the signage is improved dramatically in
Okay.
every school. So every school would have the beacons, which we don't have right now. Every school would have a photo enforcement sign.
Okay.
The signage goes way up to what we have right now.
got it. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing how this is going once it's fully implemented. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'm supporting Commissioner Casal. I like the going 15 miles an hour for the other additional time. So,
Yeah.
and I'm willing to give a
Mayor.
shot to see how it works because we can get out.
You're going to see this again because we have to do the ordinances.
Okay,
And
okay.
I think, like Lieutenant
That's
Ferrari
fine.
said,
Well,
you're going to have
conceptually,
these,
you
you're
know,
going to have the speed limits in there. So
Conceptually, I just don't want. I don't want this to be an invitation or a thought process that we're going to be putting cameras throughout the city of Delray Beach for all these other kind of stuff. This is for school zones, and I can support school zones.
And if I may, could we ask Mr. Moore, could we get on this educational process sooner rather than later, before even we get to the next phase of the ordinance, just to let people know coming soon?
Yes, ma'am. So we will initiate this beginning over the next week, over a 30-day period, because the ordinance adoption process, we anticipate the first ordinance to be in November or so, or not?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, we're working to get that accomplished. But to answer your question, ma'am, yes, as a result of tonight's direction or authorization, we will proceed accordingly. Ted White is representing the Department of Communications this evening. He is on point to receive that guidance and direction, and likewise, we will get to work as soon as possible.
Okay, then we need a motion to approve the.
Motion to approve Resolution 103-24.
So I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief, who's your odds-on favorite on the commission to get the first ticket in the school zone? I'm going with Rob.
I think you should sign up Rob to be the youngest volunteer to give out tickets.
It depends. If she's late for a tennis match, it'll be Commissioner Casal.
It could be.
And I'm always late, so God.
I'm voting Mr. Moore. I've seen him drive.
Well, as I told you, Chief, I had the great opportunity to learn about this system in England and in France, where the rental car company sent me little notices. Theirs was only 5 miles over, 7 miles over. It was like, yeah, it was very small.
Thank you. All right, let's move that along.
Thank you, Chief.
Anyway, we have first reading. We have one first reading. Do you want to read the first reading for us?
Sure. Ordinance 2824, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending the land development regulations of the City of Delray Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, zoning regulations, Article 4.6, supplemental district regulations, Section 4616, landscape regulations, subsection I, minimum maintenance requirements to remove existing fertilizer use regulations and to create a new subsection J, fertilizer management, to establish new fertilizer use regulations and associated definitions pursuant to the requirements of Florida statutes, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes, and this is first reading.
Great. Any comments? Any motion to approve?
Motion to approve ordinance number 28-24.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Comments and inquiries on non-agenda items. Mr. City Manager, I'll be right back.
I yield at this time. Thank you.
Do you want me to take over for you?
Yes.
Oh, no, you don't.
I have nothing.
Okay, there you go. We'll wait for him. It'll be a moment. Multitasking.
Exactly. That's what I do.
Worst case, you're gonna call me or something.
It's not a
around.
bad idea, right? Get ahead of the curve.
Maybe I should take over. I feel like.
Yeah, why don't we? You want the hammer?
No, don't. Just let him go. He's fine. He's washing his hands. Here he is. Woohoo!
Look, there is a price to pay for all the water I drank, okay?
Thank you for that information.
What are we on now?
We are on commission comments.
Mr. Long.
I just have a couple things that came up during public comment. Perry Don Francesco, who I know, really did a tremendous amount of service for our city for running Delray Citizens for Delray Police for decades. So I would like it if we could do some kind of recognition for him. I don't know what that looks like, but
Okay.
I think it's worth discussing, you know?
Sure. For Perry? Sure.
And then as a cat dad, I wanted to talk about the cat issue again. This has come up multiple times, and I feel for the community. You know, I feed an outdoor cat, but it's one that's a community cat that's been TNR. It has a clipped ear, so we're not adding to the problem. It's not one that's reproducing. And you know, we bring the food in when she's not eating, because otherwise we do get raccoons and possums and all kinds of stuff. It is an issue. And so it sounds like there's really one person right now that is just putting food out on other people's property. That is problematic. So I don't know what we can do about it, but we should do something. To me, it has nothing to do with the TNR program or anything else. To me, those are great programs that we should continue. But putting food and leaving food on private property that shouldn't even have anything to do with the TNR program.
I think it's against the law to put it on public property. There's like this, it's a very strange thing, and I'd have to go back through all my notes to look at it. A typical person, there are a lot of cat feeders in the city of Delray Beach, and they go and they get permission to feed on private property. They put the stuff in a bowl, they put water, and they leave. And look, it's unfortunate when it gets to the point where people don't appreciate it versus saying thanks so much for taking care of these cats, because our money is currently being utilized for, or should be in this year utilized for trapping and clipping, TNVR. But there's a law; they have to be released in the same place. They're not going to be able to legally pick up those cats and relocate them. If they do, other cats will be there. It's not an easily solvable problem, but I could call the gentleman and ask him to be a little bit more mindful.
If you know him, that might be a good start. And we're in agreement on this. Believe me, my fiance's mom takes care of a whole house full, not in Delray, but just a little north. So I'm very supportive of that in general. And I want to make sure that we are taking care of these animals. And I know how quickly they do reproduce, and we really do have to stay on top of it. It's exponential. It's unbelievable. And I've worked with Animal Rescue Force and some of these other groups to try and deal with the problem. Because where I live, there's a whole colony near us. There's a lot. It's an issue. But I do hear the community. They've come in here several times with this problem. And so we do need to figure it out.
And I'm just, in progressive cities, when this program started, there was a woman who was speaking to me, and she was in neighborhood services but ultimately moved to a different department, and she was doing a ton of research on what cities do. Some cities create little feeding stations, and the public works and parks and rec people on schedule, because they're driving around, drop the food in these dispensers and water on a daily basis in other places. Now, I know you don't want to do that, and I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying you like cats, but I'm saying there are real solutions to the problem, but because we don't really have any, we have a bunch of volunteers who are remarkably passionate out there, and I'm not saying they're not making mistakes, but they are very passionate and well-meaning.
So how do we figure out how to work with these volunteers to create maybe a public place to feed them that we can plan out or something like that? I'm in for an idea like that, because
that's typically why they kind of do it on the edge of the alleys, because it's questionable, right? Whose property is it exactly? Sometimes people won't complain, they don't really know, but unfortunately I don't think there's a super easy answer, but I can look into it.
Yeah, I'd like to continue the conversation on this, because I do want to solve it for the sake of the community, and I do frankly care about how we are dealing with the issue with the cats too.
Do we have a program in general that we deal with?
TNVR, we have a program, but in the last, when I was up here, the program was dispensing some food, and we were doing the trapping, neutering, vaccinating, and releasing. And our first subject matter came from one of our own buildings. 5 little adorable kittens and their mom. But now we're just doing the trapping, I believe. We're not distributing food, and we don't really have any serious protocols in place for how we need to be doing it, so we're following the county's protocols on feeding. And oftentimes, churches will let people do it. There's vacant properties, people don't mind.
She feeds these feral cats.
Don't tell anybody.
The biggest problem that these residents are talking. If you in the back of Miss Williams' yard, there were 10 to 15 cans, not dishes, but cans that's just left there.
Yeah.
They open the cans and they leave it,
and then they go.
And they leave it.
That's not right.
So now she has to pick up trash out of her backyard that was left, by someone, and it's, as they say, it's not the cats, it's the possums, the raccoons, and the rodents that
100%.
come after
that food needs to be removed in between feedings. That's the issue.
Right, or you circle back and you pick it back up, something
agreed.
like that. Look, I'm sure there's the solution. I'll try and work on it. And
If you speak with that gentleman, you could let us know how that goes.
Okay.
One last quick thing was Mr. Ridley mentioned the REI Institute training. I just wanted to recommend it. It's something I've done a few years ago. I might go get a refresher on it. I learned a lot from that. I thought it was fascinating, and so I just recommend everyone take them up on that invitation. That's all I got.
Mr. Marker.
I just have a quick question, Julie. I mentioned Palm Beach Wildlife, and you didn't have a good reaction to that. Have they not been helpful to us?
It's not Palm Beach Wildlife. It's the county. The Humane Society, they have a specific individual, Miss Black, who she came here, she met with people. I don't say they're not good. There's one person who's handling the entire county, and that's a challenge.
Because my experience when we lived out west at the Meisner Country Club, we found 2 litters over the course of a year of brand new baby kittens that got left in our yard. And we called them, and they said, we were happy to come out. And the gentleman came out, and he said, if I take the kittens, I just want you to know I'm going to euthanize them in the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
And my wife and daughter were appalled. So they went to PetSmart and bought bottles and fed these 2 litters, and then found homes for them.
Right. That's unfortunately the problem. If they can't be adopted out,
I know.
That's what happens. And there's so many that they're so overpopulated that they can't be adopted out.
Yeah.
My kid keeps bringing them home.
Commissioner Burns?
I have 2 pit bulls.
Okay. There you go. So I have a dog.
We'll get those with some of the cats, but I'm sure we can get rid of some of the cats.
I mean, I have an extra large so yeah, no cats around my house. However, I wanted to. I mean, this opioid thing. I don't know if I'm asking Mr. Moore for a status update, or I know we prolonged or tabled or delayed the assignment of a committee. However, I would
We agreed to the assignment of the committee.
2 things. I would like to have a workshop. We love workshops, so let's have a workshop where we invite these professionals. I met with Palm Health. I met with Healthier Del Rey and a couple of other agencies that have the professionals within those organizations that work with these issues every day. And I know that the caring funds and the opioid funds kind of overlap. I brought up the opioid funds. It's been a year. It doesn't seem that long, but it's been a year, and we still have not dispensed any funds. This money is not out in the community. So I would like to get consensus or have Ms. Moore come up with the workshop time so that we can have these people come to talk to us, so that we can assign or appoint this committee of folk that will give us recommendations as to how we can best utilize this money in our community. And then secondly, I would like to have a formal grant policy to govern all grants that we dispense to like nonprofits and this kind of thing, so that we can have clear oversight, know how this money is being distributed, get reports. So that's my thing today. So a workshop so that we can hear from folks, so that we can appoint a committee, and then to get this formal policy for distribution of this money.
Do you want to jump in, Mr. Moore?
Yes, I do. So initially my thought was to bring back an update either one of the meetings in November. So the next regular meeting is November 4th or November 19th, based on what we recently discussed as far as the opioid policy consideration. So that's what I had in mind to accomplish. And if we were to fashion that into an actual workshop engagement, I think November 19th would work well in that regard, in advance of the regular meeting that day. So your regular meeting Tuesday, November 19th, to begin at 5 o'clock. We can perhaps have a workshop meeting devoted for this purpose specifically at 4 o'clock.
That works for me. Thank
Okay,
you.
so if that's consensus to proceed in that regard, I'll be happy to make
So
arrangements.
there are companies like Palm Health which know how to do this. I mean, there are
Right.
others too. I just
Yeah.
happen to know the guy came here to speak
You're right.
a couple weeks back.
Yeah. Yeah, there's Palm Health. There's many of them out there, so we
I'm
need
saying,
to
but
have
there-
them
but
come
we need to
talk
hear from
to
somebody
us.
who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely, and then we can appoint a committee.
Absolutely. You need to hear when somebody knows what they're doing. I agree.
Okay.
Right. And the policy piece, we'll
Yes.
take a stab at that around that time, possibly even the November 4th meeting, in terms of a grant policy, in terms of the disbursement process, et cetera, that you've
Right.
described. So to have something like that.
All grants.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
To have something like that in place by November 4th for considered for approval, which would be a city commission policy, and the workshop meeting to follow the Ford meeting, November 19th, is the thought process. So I'll be more than happy to proceed along those lines with the consensus I think you've all just offered.
Yeah. And one more thing, if you guys would consider, this has come to my mind several times, and given in light of something that happened with our code, with one of our code officers just recently, please give some thought to transitioning code to the police department, which, in my opinion, would be better suited to issue citations keep it transparent, make it fair, and this kind of thing wouldn't happen in that situation. So just some consideration, please. Thank you.
I was going to actually ask about, but first, Missy, I want to say again, 28.5 million. I'm beyond excited. I'll be talking about it for a couple of months. I'm going to compliment you monthly. Thank you, Missy. Code enforcement, that issue is very upsetting, I think, probably to all of us. And Mr. Moore, one of the biggest problems I have with it is that we found out about it from the public. You know, I think I gave you a very tough evaluation, but I did say to you the one thing that you could do for me is be more forthcoming with information, because I work really hard. We all work hard. I know myself. I have high expectations and low tolerance. I want information to come from the city, and I want it to be accurate. And that's not happening, and I'm not thrilled about that. With respect to the code enforcement individual, that person was on admin leave for 4 months being paid by our taxpayers. Now, the police got notified in February that there was an issue, and that person stayed working to June. And then in June, that person was put on admin leave. Should have taken 2 weeks to do an investigation, and that person should have been terminated abruptly. Instead, that individual was paid for 4 months by the city taxpayers.
We were working with external agencies. I think, Chief Major, you might be in position to clarify
No,
those
wait,
points in those
you don't have
regard.
to clarify, because regardless of the external agencies, there's two competing issues going on. One is the employment and one is the criminal. And you had total jurisdiction over the employment, and that person could have been terminated. There was a whistleblower and there was information. And that is why I am struggling to appreciate our hiring and firing processes right now. And I brought up the hiring before because I think that was really, for me, very upsetting. And this is equally upsetting to me. Our residents deserve better. We are here to clean up, not cover up. And that's what it feels like is going on when we don't get information about one of our employees bribing people and extorting them. And I have to ask the question, I did reach out to the chief on this. There was indications in that police report that there's multiple Cash App accounts under different names. And the woman says, I have to pay. She's like got somebody else involved. Now, obviously, we all know that sometimes people say that as a means of, turning the arm and getting the cash or what have you. But did we do a full investigation into this department to make sure that this is one individual and not a bunch of people working together?
That's a review process imminent because, of course, the concern is to make sure we're tight in that regard.
What does that mean, review process imminent?
We are reviewing our processes to be on point in that regard because, of course, my concern is if there's more than one individual other than who was apprehended in the most recent events.
Can we hire the firm that came in and did the report for us? You and I discussed this, Lynn. I think I asked you the name, to just review the department. And let's let our taxpayers know we don't have problems. I was heartbroken when you read the report. A guy who's got $60 and his bank account is frozen is getting hit up for money by a Delray Beach employee.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we want to make sure that this is not a problem?
I think we should let the city manager look into, how he's going to do it. I mean, I'm a due process kind of a person, generally speaking.
I'll tell you what, I'll offer an update during the next regular meeting in terms of what the next steps would be.
I think it's an important...
I will offer that because, again, I've been quite conscious about this, and in all fairness, as far as the time frames you outlined, it was not a function of irresponsibility on our part, simply taking time to put the pieces together. That is policy, that is process, and ultimately we got to a place in which the arrest had been made, and we went from there immediately. So
I would argue 4 months on paid administrative leave
I was not happy
excessive.
with that application. However, given the policies and practices that existed in this organization for years and many others, that's what it came down to. Because probable cause, all the adjustments had to be established, and we went from there.
Okay.
Otherwise, I will work forward.
And here's what I will say to you, very politely. Policies and practices need to be reviewed and changed.
And I've made a commitment to
Your
do
hiring
so.
policies are not working if you're not reaching out to other cities and getting their 20-year employment record, and they have issues in their file, and we don't know about it when we hire them.
Ma'am,
That's
and
a
I've-
policy issue, and this is a policy issue.
And I've made
So-
a commitment to proceed accordingly.
Okay, and you can, keep us updated, because I have no offense, but all I ever hear is that we're working on something. We're working on our policies. I want to see action.
I will offer an update regarding this particular piece during the November 4th meeting.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
If there's nothing else, we're adjourned.
We're out.